Marion Mimi McDonald is suing her daughter's ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Chad Pittman, for damaging her 96 GMC Jimmy during an argument with her daughter.
All rise. That's case number 324 on the calendar in the matter of McDonald versus Pittman. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Ms. McDonald, you don't know what happened on this day with the car, is that right?
Not besides what my daughter had told me.
Your daughter was driving, but
Yes.
the car is in your name,
Yes.
so you're the one who wants the defendant to pay for the damages
Yes,
on the
ma'am.
car. But your daughter's a big girl. She makes her own mistakes. She's going to stand up and you're going to sit down.
Do you mind if I stand up in between these two? Because he's caused so much turmoil with our family.
Oh, he's not going to make any problem.
Okay.
You see this guy? Squash him like a bug.
Okay.
You understand that, Mr. Pittman?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you keep an eye on Mr. Pittman, because Miss McDonald will feel more comfortable if you do that.
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald, it is your claim that the defendant backed into your car when he was angry. Mr. Pittman says that you rear-ended him. Mr. Pittman used to be your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
Almost 3 years.
And how old are you?
17.
And then when the two of you broke up, he started dating, or even before, I don't know how it happened, but now he's with your cousin, who was 15
Yes.
and pregnant. How wonderful. I assume that the pregnancy is a result of your relationship. Is that right, Mr. Pittman?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
20.
And what do you do to support yourself?
I work for one of my friends.
Doing what?
I'm a foreman, construction foreman.
You work every day?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do you earn a week?
800.
And who do you live with?
My parents.
Pay rent?
No, ma'am.
What do you do with your money?
I put it up for my kid, and I'm buying clothes and all that. Insurance, phone bill, just I pay bills with it.
You have another child?
No, ma'am.
So this is the child that you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Do the parents of this 15-year-old who you got pregnant want to put you in jail?
No, ma'am. She allowed me to date her.
Dating her is one thing.
I know.
You know, dating, you go out to eat, you go to a movie, you go ice skating. You know, there are lots of things you can do other than make babies with 15-year-olds, Mr. Pittman. Who are these people?
My mom and my witness.
You didn't give them a good enough lesson in the facts of life. Okay. Tell me when this incident happened with the car, Miss McDonald.
On Friday, August 11th of 2006.
Tell me what you were doing near Mr. Pittman.
It's a parking lot where a bunch of people hang out on Friday and Saturday nights.
And you knew he was there?
I didn't know he was there until I pulled in.
At that point, he was already involved with your cousin.
Yes.
You were angry about that?
Yes, very.
So you pulled in and you saw his car. Was your cousin with him?
Yes, she was.
And what did you do?
I noticed that
No. Look at me. Don't look over there. Look at me.
I noticed that he was there, so I pulled up beside him.
Why?
Just...
Come on.
I was going to talk to him. I pulled up and she was with him. So I confronted him.
Well, what did you say to him?
Because he also was still calling me every night, wanting to be...
Shh, just a second.
Wanting to still be with me at the same time as being with her. And I felt like she needed to know that too.
Well, why did you choose that time to tell her?
It was probably the only other time I would see her.
Yeah, you could have called her on the phone. Could have told your mother. Your mother could have called whoever her mother is and said, listen, this is not a good situation. So you went into this parking lot and there was clearly going to be trouble. So when you say you confronted him, what did you say?
I just, asked him why. Why is he doing this to me? Also wanted to be with her. He needed to choose one or the other.
And then what happened?
We got into a small argument. He then pulled off, and I pulled off behind him to leave because I was so upset. And
Well,
there's
if
cars.
he pulled off to leave, he wanted to get away from the situation. Why did you follow him?
I wanted to leave. I wanted to go home. I was upset.
Oh, why didn't you wait until he left?
I was just so upset. Didn't know what to do.
Go ahead.
And whenever he pulled off, I pulled off behind him. He hit the brakes, so I hit the brakes too. He threw his truck in reverse and backed into me, and then pulled off and left.
He wanted you to leave him alone. Miss McDonald, he wanted you to leave him alone. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Pittman?
Ma'am?
Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
So?
Someone I knew called the police for me, and they came and did a police report and an incident report, which I have a copy of, along with pictures of the damage. And then Monday, Whenever my mom got home and we started filling out to file with his insurance company, she then told me that my witness, Dana, who was her coworker, had overheard her talking to some other people at work, and she was actually there in the parking lot Friday with her son.
Perfect. Just stand up, please. Dana, you have a last name?
Morella.
What were you doing in the parking lot?
Me and my son were just up there eating, and we were out in the parking lot looking at all the cars. They have a lot of the nice cars that my son likes to look at, the Nopi cars, and we were just out looking at the cars when I noticed that a big black Bronco just backed up into a green Jimmy. At the time, I did not know that it was...
You drive the big black Bronco?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he backed into her.
Right.
Okay.
And that's all I seen.
Thank you. Let me start with you, Mr. Pittman. It was wrong for Miss McDonald, not smart of her, to confront you and your girlfriend in the parking lot on August 11th. It was wrong for her to follow you after you tried to leave, because you don't know what she's doing, whether she's going to follow you, whether I mean, you have no idea at this point, because you were leaving and she wasn't finished yet. I want you to understand that I am sympathetic with that. I'm not sympathetic with you, but I'm sympathetic with that. Now, all I want to know from you is, did you back your car into hers?
No, ma'am.
You better have very strong, convincing evidence, Mr. Pittman, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be responsible for all the damage on her car. I'm telling you that right now, because I find that even if you did back into her car, she's partially responsible for what happened on that evening. Do you understand that? He was trying to get away from her. She was acting like a nut. She's a kid, and she was acting like a nut, and he was trying to get away from her, and she wouldn't let him. So even if he did say, listen, I'm going to back up into her, I'm not going to hurt her, but then she's going to stop, that was sort of justified under the circumstances. So she is partially responsible. Do you understand that, young lady? So you better be able to convince me that this lady who was in the parking lot with her son is lying to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
After she got through with me, she started on my fiance. She says, well, you know, I hope you and your baby die at birth. That's her exact words.
And later today,
He squired you around town, bought you lots of things, and this was merely a payback. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
When did you start dating Prince Charming?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michelle McDonald says her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Chad Pittman, purposely rammed her car with his truck. Chad claims it was Michelle who rear-ended him.
Okay, let me hear.
Your Honor, me and my friends and my fiance was up there at Kmart, and we were minding our own business talking to some of our friends.
Oh, my heart hurts me when you say fiance with 15 years old. Go ahead.
And she come flying up next to us and parked next to us, and then she started on me, and she just started arguing from the start.
Of course you did. I got it. I understand that. It's exactly what she did.
I was shocked. I was embarrassed, you know, because here it is, a bunch of old people were in front of me, and she just come out of nowhere. And after she got through with me, she started on my fiance. And she got an argument with her, and she's like, Michelle, you know, I love you, you're my cousin and all, but I don't need this right now. I'm 3 months pregnant. So she says, well, you know, I hope you and your baby die at birth. That's her exact words. So she looked at me and she said, I don't need this. So we crank up, we leave. And she starts following us, and I look back to her. My top was off my Bronco at the time. I looked back at her, and I said, don't follow us. And I started off again, and I went around a median. As you see over there in the visual, I went around the median, and I went to stop again because she was still following us. I was going to get out, you know, go talk to her, you know, be like, Michelle, look, we don't need this. You know, your cousin, my fiance, she's pregnant. We don't need this. So I went to get out. As soon as I put it in park, she hit me as we was going around the turn. She hit me in the back. So I'll go ahead and get out the truck. She backs up, pulls up next to me, and I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said a few things, and she left. And I looked at my Bronco. There was no damage that I could see. So I got my Bronco, which is private property, you know, so I didn't think nothing could have to be done anyway. So
Did you
I left.
see this lady in the parking lot?
Oh, ma'am.
You work together?
We used to work together.
When?
She left at the end of August.
Do you live near each other?
No,
Have you seen each other since work?
once or twice maybe.
Just
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. You have a witness?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear your witness. First, let's start with your name.
Robert Drew Norton.
Go ahead.
We had the top off the back of the Bronco.
Were you in the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people were in the car? 3 of you?
There was 2 in the back, 2 in the front. And we parked at the median, as you see over there. And she pulled up, slammed brakes as I was talking to my friends on the other side of the Bronco. And she started yelling out like all the stuff he said, such as, I hope your baby dies at birth, and she said we don't need it. And then we left, and then she pulled off behind us. We ran around the median, and he went to stop and tell her to quit following, and she hit us, and then she pulled off and said something, and then went flying out the parking lot beside Kmart. And then he looked at his truck, and then we left.
Okay, now I'd like to see the pictures. You work?
I work at Chicken Run.
Okay, good. You ever been in trouble with the law?
No, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Well, if he backed into you, madam, he certainly didn't back into you square on. This indicates that you had damage just to one side of your car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now you can stand up next to your daughter.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
After she left, there was no cops called. They were called 2 hours later. And one of my friends up there called me and told me this happened at 8:30, 8:45, because I called my mom when I was on the way home, and I don't live but like 15 minutes from there. So it was 2 hours later before she even called the cops.
Go ahead.
The cops were called immediately. There was a 2-hour delay before they got there because there was a shooting in the area, and they apologized. There was nothing they could do. They got someone there as soon as possible.
Ms. McDonald, I'm not satisfied that Mr. Pittman, although he clearly suffers from a lack of good judgment in other social areas of his life, hit your daughter's car. I'm not satisfied he did that at all. I think that your daughter was furious that night. I think that she got into the parking lot expecting to see him there. She saw him there. She confronted him. She confronted him in the car with her cousin. She was so angry that when he chose to leave because he didn't want to hear her vile talk, she followed him and she hit him. And that she can't do. And I don't believe your friend. Sorry. And believe me, if I felt that Mr. Pittman was responsible, at least even partially responsible for hitting the car, I would have held him partially responsible for fixing the damage to your car. This whole incident was precipitated by your daughter. She has to bear the responsibility for it. And the responsibility involves fixing her car, your car. That's all. That's what she has to do. She has to get over him. He's no bargain. You'll find somebody else. You got it?
That's not a problem, ma'am. She was supposed to take out a warrant from him, but would not do so.
A warrant for what?
For aggravated assault is what the police officer told us.
Well, let me tell you something. It's a good thing she didn't, because if I were representing him, I would sue her civilly, because what she told you is a fib.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She had no business being in the parking lot that night. She had no business confronting him, and she had no business following him.
And later today,
You don't look happy, Mr. Smith.
This is my everyday appeal. I always have this MO.
You just have a half-empty appearance.
Yes.
Okie dokie.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Michelle McDonald says her ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Chad Pittman, purposely rammed her car with his truck. Chad claims it was Michelle who rear-ended him.
Miss McDonald, he did not hit her car. She hit his car, and she had no business being in the parking lot that night. She had no business confronting him, and she had no business following him. And you have to accept the responsibility for that and not blame other people. You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. That's all. Case dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We're glad it's over with. We hope that she can go on with her life.
I think this is so wrong because he did back up into her. She was not following him.
I still care about him, and that somebody could just do this, it hurts real bad.
She's just really angry about, you know, it being the cousin.
She was sorry, but she loved him.
She lost out, I guess.
Didn't want to hurt me, wanted the best for me.
I just hope she betters herself, you know, no hard feelings or nothing.
I've realized I'm better off without him.
Hope she moves on with her life and move on with mine.
The family's a big fallout. There's no communication at all, no contact at all.
I've got so much more in my life now without him.
Oh, it's done and over. I don't see them. I try not to run into them.
This would be something that's run our family for the life.
Colleen Wilkes is suing her ex-boyfriend, Fred Johnson, for half of a tax return and bail money. Fred says Colleen is a vindictive woman.
All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 221 on the calendar in the matter of Wilkes versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Wilkes, according to your complaint, you dated briefly Mr. Johnson while he was separated from his wife. I assume this is your wife, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You are now back together again.
Yes.
But during the period of time that you and Mr. Johnson were dating, according to you, you paid all of the expenses with the understanding that he would reimburse you as soon as he got a job or started to get things done right in his life. Then you say that you paid some bail for him. Was it some sort of domestic situation, sir?
It was an order of protection.
It's a domestic situation.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson says that he owes you absolutely nothing, that you lived rent-free in his father's home when you lived together, that the money that you spent from your tax returns, which was the source of that income that you had when you were living together because neither one of you were working, that was your understanding, that that was in lieu of the rent that you were both supposed to be paying. Let me ask you this question, sir. When did you and Miss Wilkes move in together in your father's home?
It's roughly around May
Of what year?
of '06.
Your Honor, we've been together since first part of January, and it was the end of January that we moved into his father's home.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, it sounds
All
more
right, so let's say
than-
February you were in his father's home. Where were you living before that?
With my sister.
And you?
I was living with my wife, and then I moved out because of some problems that my son and myself had.
Your Honor, he has a long history of domestic abuse.
Listen, don't give me the whole story. I want to hear about what you claim he owes you.
Yes.
So you lived with his father from February until when?
First part of May. Actually, the middle of May, we moved
February,
into an apartment
March,
together.
April, and May. 4 months.
Correct. And during that time, there was an agreement that there would be no rent paid whatsoever, and that both of us help with the food. And that is when Mr. Johnson told me that he would be happy to pay me back half of the state and federal taxes that I received.
How old are you, Miss Wilkes?
I am 41 years old.
When was the last time you had a place of your own?
I had my place the end of December is when I lost my place.
And how long did you live in that apartment?
I lived there for 4 years.
You lost that apartment because you had no income?
That is correct.
Where had you been working?
I had been working as a cook at a healthcare facility.
When did you lose the job?
In November.
Are you working now?
I am.
Where?
I am a cook at a domestic abuse shelter.
When did you start that job?
I started it about 3 weeks ago.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Johnson?
I worked previously as security, but I am currently employed as a tow truck driver.
Now, when you moved into your father's home, you were there for 4 months. Did you have a lease with your father?
No, ma'am.
Did you have an agreement with regard to rent with your father?
No, ma'am.
So you paid no rent?
Correct.
And you had no income?
Correct.
So you used Miss Wilkes' tax return for your everyday living expenses?
Partially, yes.
What else did you use?
Plasma money, went to plasma center.
What's plasma center?
Donated plasma.
You donated blood?
Yes.
Well, you can't do that too often, Mr. Johnson, otherwise you lay down and you die. So what I'm asking you, Mr. Johnson, is did you have any sort of gainful employment in the 4 months that you lived with your father?
Yes, I started working for Avalon Fortress Security in the 4 months. It was about April.
So towards the end of your stay at your father's?
Yes.
So it would be a fair statement that you and Miss Wilkes lived off of her money?
Yes.
Well, that's untenable. Mr. Johnson, you didn't pay for anything. You have children?
Yes.
When you left your wife and you weren't working and you moved in with Miss Wilkes to your father's house, who supported your children?
Nobody.
What do you mean? You mean they starved? They put them in a freezer?
He stayed with my wife.
The taxpayers did.
The circumstances that brought me to moving out was because my son, my 14-year-old...
I don't care what the circumstances were, Mr. Johnson. I'm asking you how they ate.
He resided with my wife due to the order of
Who
protection.
fed him? Do you work?
I'm on Social Security, and my son is also on Social Security.
So Miss Wilkes is right. The taxpayers supported your children and your wife. How old are your children?
My son is 14.
So you have one child?
Yes, that lives with me. I have 2 other children that are... My rights were removed from them when I was back in high school, and they were taken...
Taken from whom?
Me and my high school girlfriend.
Mr. Johnson, you are clearly a study in responsibility.
Yeah.
Miss Wilkes, did you know all this about him when you... Listen to me. Look at me. Don't look over there. Don't look at the sky. You look at me.
I knew
Did
some
you
of
know most of this when you hooked up with him?
No
What
way.
didn't you know?
I knew, Your Honor, that he needed some
No, don't tell me
serious
what you
help.
knew. Don't tell me. That's the end result. Did you know he had 3 children?
No, I did not know he had 3 children. I knew he had 1 child.
When did you find out that he had 3 children?
I'd say it was about the beginning of May.
You didn't find out that he had 2 other children until May?
He didn't tell me that he had lost them due to neglect.
That's not what I asked you, Miss Wilkes. I asked you if you knew that he had the 2 other children.
No.
Is that right, Mr. Johnson?
I told her.
When?
When we started talking about my son, and I told her that there's 2 other children involved.
In what month, sir?
Probably mid-February.
So in mid-February, you told her that you had 3 children?
Yes.
When you first started dating?
Yes.
That sounds right to me, Miss Wilkes. It doesn't sound right that he told you about that in May. I don't believe that. I believe that you knew an awful lot about Mr. Johnson.
I didn't know he was as abusive as he is.
Miss Wilkes, I'm not talking about abusive, madam. I'm talking about deadbeat.
Yeah?
I'm talking about
Liar.
irresponsible. And that you knew in February.
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Speak not. That, Miss Wilkes, you knew in February.
Yes.
Then why in the world, madam, would a 41-year-old woman think that this man, who's just left his wife and 14-year-old son without a penny, not working, who has 2 other children that he has no idea where they are, parental rights were terminated, has never supported them, why in the world would you think this man was going to pay you back for your tax return money? Why in the world would you actually believe that?
You have a point, Your Honor.
I have a very good point.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You ever been married?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many times?
Once.
For how long?
For 20 years.
For 20 years?
For 20 years I was
How
married.
many good ones?
Okay.
And later today,
Did you tell anybody that this young lady was stupid?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell anybody this young lady was ugly?
No, ma'am.
Oh, she's certainly not ugly. I don't know if she's stupid or not, but she's certainly not ugly.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Colleen Wilkes says ex-boyfriend Fred Johnson owes for money he took from her tax return and for bail money.
Listen to me. He's a deadbeat. Will always be a deadbeat. Married somebody. How long are you married?
7 years.
And you have a 14-year-old son?
From a previous marriage.
And that child lives with you?
Yes.
No. He's
when does that
in a
child live
foster
with you?
home.
Shh.
Right now, he doesn't live with me because he chose to have the county take care of him and put him in a foster home because of an altercation that
Listen to
happened between
Miss
me and him.
Wilkes. Are you following me?
I am.
Are you
I
following
am.
me?
I'm sitting here.
Open up those eyes.
I hear you.
Smell the roses. If
Yeah.
all it cost you was your tax return.
But
listen
it's,
to me.
it's more than that. It's more than the tax return. There's also bail that I had to put out on him.
Just
he
a
cost
second.
me my job
Just
over
a second.
lies.
Listen to me. Did you have to bail him out?
Yes, I did.
Why?
I bailed him out because his wife had a restraining order against him.
Yeah.
He went into the neighborhood where she lives.
Because he was picking up mail for your sister.
He was picking up mail with me
With
when I
you,
told him not
for
to.
which, but you took him anyway. Listen to me. You took him anyway. You told him not to come. He said, I want to come, and you took him anyway.
Yep.
And then when he got arrested because he was in the neighborhood of his wife, you bailed him out.
Yeah, and then he put me in jail, and I had to bail myself out, and I lost my job over his lies.
You ever been married?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many times?
Once.
For how long?
For 20 years.
For 20 years?
For 20 years I was
How
married.
many good ones?
Okay.
Why in the world would you want to hang your star on that hook? I have no idea.
I keep asking myself that same question.
And if
how
you
I
got
did that.
out with this abusive deadbeat and all you lost were a couple of bucks, I mean, unless you have a drinking problem or a drug problem and you can't,
No.
you don't. I didn't think you did.
Fortunately,
You're
I
a
don't have
clear-eyed, nice lady.
Thank you.
Clear-eyed, nice lady.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Too desperate.
Your Honor,
What?
she does have a drinking problem and a drug problem.
Really? She does?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have?
A problem with not holding a job.
You have a problem, sir, with coming to terms with the fact that you're not 12 years old anymore. That when you make a mess, you got to clean it up yourself. What you've done is you've created a life for yourself, sir, of total irresponsibility, of sucking off the people that you're living with, sucking off society, and that's irresponsible. I mean, the truth of the matter is I would love to be able to say, pay her back all the money she laid out for you. But I don't think she laid out any money for you with an expectation that she was going to get paid back. Put your hand down, Miss Wilkes. Listen, good riddance to him. Use your good judgment. You know, you can usually tell by history when someone is that age what they're going to be like.
They don't tell you, unfortunately, that
Well, they may not tell you. That's why you have to look at their history, Miss Wilkes. Do you understand?
I know. Take a job resume, like, yeah.
That's right. Good luck to you. Yes. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out, sir. Wait, dear.
I don't feel he was honest with me or Judge Judy or even with himself.
I asked for my phone, and she grabbed it and threatened to break it.
He's held me down, put bruises on top of me.
She bit my arm and pulled me down on top of her.
I did bite him because he was holding me down.
I'm just I want her to leave me alone.
I don't think he knows what the word honest means.
Jessica Barnard is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sean Burrington, for 2 loans and the cost of a drum cymbal.
All rise. Now, this is case number 537 on the calendar in the matter of Barnard versus Burrington.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Miss Barnard, the defendant was your boyfriend for a long time, according to you about 6 years, and it is your claim that he owes you some money. He owes you money for bailing him out of jail twice. You want him to pay the remainder of a lease that you signed together, and something about a cymbal for a drum or something. He says the following. He said it's your fault he got arrested in the first place, so that's why you paid the bail. With regard to the rent, you threw him out, so he's not paying the rent on the lease that you had together. And with regard to the cymbal that he broke, while he seems to suggest that he did in fact break it, he said it belongs to your father, so why are you suing? Is that your response, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Let's deal with simple things first. Tell me about this drum thing that you broke.
Well, I'm in a band.
Yeah.
Show, and I had I was down one cymbal because I broke my other one. Her father plays drums too, so she went and got a cymbal from him.
Cymbal goes boom.
Yeah, a crash cymbal.
Yeah, and?
And I ended up breaking that one too.
Okay, so you would like to replace that, correct?
Yeah, and I've already been in contact with her father, so I don't know why she's suing me for that. It's not even hers.
Good, so you're going to take care of that with her father?
Yeah, I already talked to him.
Great. All right, so we don't have to deal with the cymbal for the drum. One cymbal out of the lawsuit. Now let's deal with the bail. What did you get arrested for, sir?
I had a warrant for no proof of insurance and failure to appear.
So you were driving a car and it wasn't insured?
Well, actually, she was driving the car that wasn't insured. It was in my name. When we first started going out, she had not suspended license. She had a revoked license.
Okay, so she had a revoked license and she put the car in your name?
In my name, so the cops run the plates, they don't pull her over. She had expired tabs, so she got pulled over.
Just a second. So she got a ticket for driving a car that was in your name, that was no tags and no insurance.
I got the ticket because the car was in my name.
And she didn't get a ticket?
No.
You didn't get a ticket?
I believe that I got a ticket for expired tabs.
Yes.
Was in my name. I got that ticket. And honestly, Your Honor, the situation he's describing, that was a separate incident from the 2 times that he got arrested. These were for 2 separate counties, different incidences altogether.
Just a second. When you were driving the car, did you get pulled over for no tags and no insurance?
Later on.
I don't care later on. I don't care later on. It makes no difference to me. You got pulled over.
Yes, I did.
Don't try to confuse me, sir. I don't like to get confused. I'm old. You were pulled over 2 times.
Yes.
One time you had no insurance.
Yeah.
And one time you got pulled over because they had issued a warrant for your arrest.
Yes.
For failure to appear.
Which stemmed from that, which she was supposed to take care of.
I don't care.
Okay.
That's your fault. That's your bail. How much was your bail?
$300 both times, I think.
Did you pay it?
No, she paid it. I didn't even ask her to pay it. She did because she felt bad because it was her fault.
Why did you pay the bail?
I paid the bail because we were in a relationship.
Just a second. After you paid him bail, did he ever pay you back?
No.
Did you continue to live together?
Yes.
Did you lend him any more money?
I basically supported him while he looked for a job.
Well, he wasn't looking very hard. When did you break up?
It was in February that we broke up.
February of 07?
Yes.
And tell me what happened in February of 07.
He was kicked out of the band that he was in before, and he was only without a band for 2 months. He was without a job for 5. If he'd put half as much effort into getting a job, we wouldn't be here. But he had an audition for a new band, and from that day on, he was completely engrossed in the new band. And I do believe it's because he started a relationship with a 23-year-old singer. So he just started checking out of the relationship entirely. A week later, we got into a big fight because I was not tolerant of his coming and going as he pleased and just doing whatever. So we got into a big fight, and things were said and done that pretty much were...
Well, what was said about him leaving?
Well, the fight occurred, and we didn't discuss anybody leaving until the next day when he came and he told me that he was leaving.
Is that what happened, sir?
Yeah, in a nutshell, yeah.
When you said that you were leaving, what did Miss Barnard say?
She said, fine, go. I'll take you off the lease. Go.
Okay, so is that what you did?
No, that's not what I said, and that's not what I did.
Well, you didn't want him to stay there.
Well, actually, I did. I was in love with him.
Oh, well.
Yes, it's pathetic. I know. I'm aware.
Okay. Good.
I'm that girl.
Are you still living in the apartment?
It's a house, and yes, since I filed the complaint, I have received an eviction notice. And there's a way to legally get out of the lease if I can bring the rent current and give him a 60-day notice in addition to paying a termination fee, so that it isn't going to ruin my credit to have to move out. But I can't afford to stay in a 3-bedroom house on my own.
So why don't you get a roommate?
Well, I have 2 children.
So?
And, well, they'd have to share a room, and they're 7 and 10, boy and girl.
Yeah,
and
so?
I don't think that's very healthy for them.
Well, where did they live before him?
I lived in a 3-bedroom house.
Oh, well, now you're back in a 3-bedroom house. Stop complaining. You owe her for the bail. That's your bail. You pay the bail, $600. And you deal with the father with the symbol.
Yes.
Okay? So you owe her for your bail. As far as the rent is concerned, you live there with your 2 children. That's very nice. Pay the rent. Now, let's get to the counterclaim. You say that she damaged your car. You want to tell me about it?
She checked my car into the building the night we had a fight. It was February 17th. We had the fight because I didn't include her in what I was doing that day. You know, I went to see my band, whatever, and because we ended up at a mutual friend's party, she felt that it was her place, that she should have met them first, and so she came to the studio, guns blazing.
Okay, she came to the studio and?
And she just started raising hell.
And?
And I came out and she had smashed my car into the wall.
Let me see.
I have pictures and an estimate. Before I got the estimate, I assessed it myself. The actual estimate is a lot more than what I figured it was going to be.
You have insurance?
It was insured at the time, yeah.
Well, did the insurance take care of it?
No.
Why?
Because I didn't run through the insurance. You know, the insurance was actually in her dad's name.
The vehicle is in my dad's name, and the insurance is in my dad's name, and I paid for it.
You paid for?
I paid for the title transfer, the tabs, 2 months of insurance, and my dad put the car in his name.
Whose car is this?
Car.
It's
In
my
whose
dad's
name?
car.
Well, it's in her dad's name, but it's my car. I'm the one paying for it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Why does a man not have a checking account but goes to a check cashing place? Explain that to me. Explain it to me so that I believe it, Mr. Krause.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Barnard claims ex-boyfriend Sean Burrington owes for rent and bail money. Sean is countersuing, claiming Jessica vandalized his car.
Maybe you can resolve this with him when you take care of the symbols. Here, give this back to him. You don't have an interest in suing for the car, Mr. Burrington. The car is not yours. The car is titled in somebody else. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. You owe her $600. That's for your bail. That's all you owe her. Do you understand?
Actually, I really don't.
Well, I've just explained it to you.
I didn't tell him to leave the house.
Yeah, I believe that it was not a good thing for you or your children
Right.
for him to be in the house when there is constant bickering. So if you were a good mother to your two children, you would have said to him, you have to leave. That's what you would have said. I can't put my children in a position where they're going to listen to constant bickering because you've chosen a band over the responsibilities of keeping a home for me and the two children, and you have another child. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's what you're supposed to do.
Well,
And if you didn't tell him to leave, you should have. Goodbye. $600 is all you get.
Oh.
That's it. Move on.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
15 minutes of fame.
Love is blind.
She thinks she's an actress.
He's a loser.
Robert and Stephanie Miller are suing the mother of Robert's child, Doris Van Esselberg, for damages from a failed adoption.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 241 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Van Esselberg.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Miller, the defendant, sir, is your former fiancé.
Yes.
And while you were together, you had one child,
Yes.
a little girl, who is now how old?
7.
You have physical custody of that child.
Yes.
Some time ago, Ms. Van Esselberg agreed to allow your present wife to adopt her daughter. and you started proceedings in the family court to have the adoption finalized. Miss Van Esselberg changed her mind.
Yes.
And you want her responsible for both the filing fees for that adoption and your attorney's fees. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Miss Van Esselberg says she's sorry. She really thought initially that it was a good idea, but she had time to reflect, and she's really unhappy with that decision. So she understands the filing fee, but certainly not the attorney's fees, because you consulted with an attorney after she changed her mind to see what your options were.
Yes.
Well, you are not entitled to your attorney's fees.
Even in the best interest of the child, because she's done this in the past before, and to
Listen to me, sir.
Okay.
The best interests of the child have nothing to do with a small claims case with regard to money from Miss Van Esselberg to you for an attorney that you hired to try to circumvent her decision when she said, no, I'm not going to consent to this adoption.
The other reason for the attorney was to figure out how to reestablish her parenting time and everything else, which...
How to reestablish her parenting time is not what you do. How to reestablish her parenting time is what she does. She can hire an attorney to decide how to reestablish her parenting time, and you wouldn't be responsible for that. So she's not responsible for an attorney that you hire to try to terminate her parental rights, which is really what you wanted to do. And I'm sure one of the questions you asked the attorney was, even if she doesn't consent, is there a way that we can terminate her parental rights and proceed with this adoption anyway? Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement, yes.
Well, she doesn't pay for that. Now, Ms. Van Esselberg, how do you feel about paying for their filing fee?
I don't think I'm obligated to.
You are not. I mean, there is no provision in the law for you to recoup the filing fee. You know, unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, happens all the time that people who are going to consent to an adoption change their mind. And there is no provision in the law.
Is there any provisions in the law, then, for how many times you can do that with a 7-year-old?
Let me tell you this, sir. Perhaps the point when you say, this is my daughter's family. She has a biological mother who is not able to care for her, but is going to have some sort of a relationship with her. And she has the other mother who takes care of her regularly, and that's your wife. And that's going to be the nuclear family.
Okay.
Does she pose this idea to you to give up her parental rights, or do you broach the subject with her?
She asked us.
She called and asked
There
us.
was pushing. There's
No, no, don't interrupt. She called you.
Yes.
Yes.
Has she always made the suggestion, or have you suggested? Shh. You got to wait until I finish.
Okay.
How many times has she made that suggestion?
She has made the suggestion twice since 2004.
Then maybe you should come to the realization that her lack of stability precludes you from relying on her suggestion.
This child's been prepped twice to not have her mother in her life.
Well, I don't know why I don't know why you would do that. I have no idea why you would do that.
Child Protective Services did it the second time. They felt it their need to do it to the child.
Then they made a mistake, because having once in 2004 changed her mind, they should have done no preparatory work with regard to the child the second time until the adoption was finalized. Listen, you have a 7-year-old child, and you have a biological mother who has said, according to you on 2 occasions, I am prepared to give up my parental rights for the sake of the child, to have her live in a stable home, and while I still care for her, I understand that this is a good thing for her. Let us say that that's what she says to you. She changed her mind once, she changed her mind twice. If she says it to you again, file the papers. Do what you have to do. But say nothing to the child.
Even when she asks after 8 months, why haven't I seen my mom?
Listen to me. I mean, have you spoken to a psychologist?
She's been in psychiatric care since 2004.
Fine. You have to say, listen, we love you, we're your family, and we know that your mother loves and cares for you, but she has problems that make it difficult, make it impossible. Whatever you have to say to her to let her know that everybody involved with her loves her, and it's not her fault that she's not seeing her mother regularly. That's what you have to do. But I wouldn't take any steps with regard to the child to prepare her for an adoption until after her parental rights, if ever, are terminated.
I agree with that, Your Honor.
Good.
What you're saying.
Well, then somebody made a mistake.
Yeah. CPS is the one that set this up, because I didn't want to even do this.
Well, then Child Protective... If you didn't want to do this, why is Child Protective Services in your life anyway?
Because
he's trying to push me away.
Listen to me. Shh. I wasn't speaking to you, I was speaking to him. What?
Why? Because of the mental stability in the household of the Van Astenbergs, the violence, okay? Just the different things that's happened in front of my child.
Yes.
She crying, going over to her mother's, and me paying for counseling.
Well, just a second. Who contacted Child Protective Services?
Both parties have.
Who contacted them first?
It was Mr. Miller.
I would assume that Mr. Miller contacted them first, because what you complained about, sir, was what happened to your daughter when she went over to her mother's home. So I assume you contact the Child Protective Services first.
The last time, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There's no question in my mind that you contact the Child Protective Services first. And once they get in your life, it's very hard to get them out of your life. Tell them, I don't want you in my life anymore. So stay out of my life.
And later today,
You don't have to live together to have intimate relations with them. As a matter of fact, sometimes it helps the relations if you don't live together, right?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert and Stephanie Miller claim the mother of Robert's child, Doris Van Esselberg, owes for lawyer fees due to a failed adoption.
There's no question in my mind that once you had custody of this child...
I've had custody since she's been born, her mother.
Fine.
Because he's
Then,
older.
Fine. Then if you've had custody since she was born, then there's no question in my mind that you contact the Child Protective Services first. And once they get in your life, it's very hard to get them out of your life. So if they took over, tell them, I don't want you in my life anymore. I don't want you preparing my child for adoption until after it goes through, because we've already done it twice, and if it doesn't go through, I don't want her traumatized again, so stay out of my life. In any event, unfortunately, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, you are not entitled to recoup from Miss Van Esselberg the money that you spent in trying to finalize this adoption. The way the law is read, she is entitled to change her mind, which she did. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Engelhardt versus Sykowski. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Kimberly Engelhardt is suing her former friend, 21-year-old Denise Sykowski, for the cost of 2 tickets to a reggae festival.
Miss Engelhardt,
Yes.
according to the complaint that I read, a group of people were going to a concert, and the defendant was a friend of yours.
Correct.
You asked her if she wanted to join group at the concert. You say that Miss Sykowski said that she definitely wanted to go, along with her boyfriend. You put the pair of tickets on your credit card. Turns out that only Miss Sykowski went. You wanted to pay for both of the tickets. The remainder on her ticket. She didn't give you the full amount.
Yes.
Miss Sykowski says she only said she was ready to go to the concert, and her boyfriend hadn't committed to go to the concert, and if you didn't think long and hard enough about contacting him, then that's your problem, not hers. He didn't go. So, Miss Sykowski, is this the boyfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
I'm Chris Holton.
How old are you, Chris?
I'm 20.
And you?
21.
How long have you been a couple?
For almost 2 years.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
You live together in an apartment that you share?
We lived together in an apartment for a year, and then we live in a house now.
That you
together.
lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was the concert?
The first weekend in August.
What kind of concert was it?
It was a reggae festival.
A reggae festival?
Yes, it was 3 day long.
Where do you stay?
You camp along the river, and wherever there's a place, you set up your tent.
Sounds delicious. Okay. Now, Miss Sykowski, when your friend Miss Engelhardt discussed it with you, tell me what you said to her.
Well, first of all, it was all 4 of us at my apartment, and
4 of you, including this gentleman?
Yes, ma'am.
That's your boyfriend?
Yes.
And she asked us, she had already paid for all 4 of the tickets. And I said that that sounded lovely, and I wanted to go definitely. And Chris said that it sounded good, but he could not commit to it because he didn't know his financial state right then, and if he had other plans going on.
Is that what he said?
I am not exactly sure what he said, but I remember that she agreed to wanting to go.
She said she wanted to go. Did she say she or they?
She said she wanted to go, but later on, before the concert started, she told me that they were both going to go.
When you say before the concert started, when did she tell you that they were both going to go?
Maybe it was in July.
In between this first conversation, which was in what month, by the way? The first conversation at your house?
I believe it was in May.
Between May and July, had you tried to sell either one or both of these tickets?
No, I didn't, because I assumed that she would like to purchase the ticket, if not both of them.
Okay. But it wasn't until July that she told you they were both going to go?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Holton.
Yes.
Tell me about your plans to go to this concert, sir.
Well, I never really had any official...
Look at me.
Never really had any official plans. She brought it up, like she said, in May. It sounded kind of interesting to me, but like this was months ahead of time. I never actually told her I would be going to the concert. I didn't even know she actually had the tickets. We never said, hey, buy us the tickets and we'll pay you back.
Mr. Holton, two couples are going on a camping trip. Camping trip where they're going to share a tent and be away with each other for 3 days. And you want me to believe that you just weren't sure that you wanted to go with your live-in, with your significant other to this concert? Just because?
Well, I mean, honestly...
Judd, don't put your hand up. I'd like him to finish.
I don't know, honestly, I never really wanted to go to a reggae festival. I'm not really into reggae music.
Did you tell that to your live-in?
Yeah, I don't think I really explained it to her that I wasn't going to go, but
well,
I
I want you to explain to me what you explained to her, sir. If you didn't explain to her that you weren't going to go,
well,
how did you think somebody was going to read your mind that you weren't going to go?
Well, she wasn't trying to sell me a ticket. The plaintiff here is trying to sell a ticket to somebody that didn't want a ticket.
Now I'll hear you.
From the very beginning, Chris never said that he was going to take this ticket. He said it sounded like a good idea, but he said that he would never commit to the ticket. Kim and I had talked about this several times, about him wanting the ticket, and I told her several times that Chris was not going to take the ticket, and I told Kim, if she wants to talk to him about it, then go for it. Call him, because she has the phone number. I ended up going to this place by myself.
I disagree with
30,000 people there.
Just a second. You didn't go there by yourself. According to the complaint that I read and your answer, you picked up his ticket. And you went with his ticket and yours. Mm-hmm. So you took 2 tickets.
Because it's $165. I would not want to leave under somebody's doorstep to be taken.
Why?
Because that was my
friend. What did you do with it?
My intentions were to give it back to her because...
Listen to me. Mm-hmm. You took both tickets. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Both tickets.
To give her one back.
I don't care what your intention was. You took both tickets.
It's $165 underneath somebody's doorstep.
That's not the problem. The problem is you took both tickets.
It would be my fault if it was lost in the first place.
Well, what did you do with it?
I took it with me, and I never found Kim. I tried calling her several times. I was there by myself. I ended up having to sleep on the side of a road because I could not find her to go camping with her, and I couldn't find her the second day. They wanted $80 for parking. I spent over $160 getting up to this festival, and then trying to find my friend. She never even called me to notify me where she was at or where her camping grounds were because we were supposed to camp together, and she never called me or anything.
Who's the we?
Myself, Kim, and her boyfriend.
Just the 3 of you?
Yes.
Did you know that it was just going to be the 3 of you camping together?
The day before that we left, I found out Chris wasn't going to go.
Just to say, was that the first time you found out he wasn't going to go?
It might have been a day before, but it was within 24 hours of the concert.
Tell me who told you he wasn't going.
Denise told me that he wasn't going.
And what did you say to her?
I said, well, what are we going to do with that ticket? Because, you know, it was intended for him. I hadn't tried to give it to anybody else because I was under the assumption that
he was going until he had to do paperwork on the new house. Don't talk over me.
Sorry.
So what did she say?
She told me that she was going to try to go up the next day because she had a lot of stuff going on. And I said, okay, that's fine. We would try to meet up at the concert. But what I didn't know was that there would be 20,000 people at this concert and that I wouldn't be able to find her.
How much did you lay out for those 2 tickets?
It was a total of $330 for both tickets.
And how much money did she give you?
She gave me $65.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not true. I paid her the full amount for that ticket.
No, that is not true.
Show me.
I paid her with cash.
She paid me $65.
Yeah,
and said, I'll give you the rest later because she was paying me installments.
I paid her 2 installments.
1 installment.
I believe you, Miss Engelhardt. I believe you. I believe she gave you $65. You owe her $265. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff. Step out.
Pardon your excuse. You may step out.
Because it's obvious you can't really trust friends anymore.
It's quite stupid, actually, but she was the one that decided to end our friendship. And, you know, that's fine by me because she's a really shady person.
And Lewis Walker are suing their former tenant, 25-year-old Carrie Weir, for 2 months' rent, the destruction of property, and harassment.
All rise. Now, this is case number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Walker versus Weir. Vice has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Walker, are you concerned about your appearance here today?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
You had the look of a man who had a little bit of a guilty look on his face, sir, when I walked out here. Because the problem that was created here, Mr. Walker, was a problem that was created really because of you. From what I gather, you had a rental property and you rented that property to the defendant. You rented that property to the defendant without your wife knowing about it initially. Is that right?
That's correct.
And this was not a stranger to you or to your wife. I mean, you knew who she was because your wife clearly wasn't happy that you rented an apartment to her. So far, is that correct, Miss Walker?
Yes.
Now, what was it about Miss Weir that you didn't like?
My previous dealings with her, she just wasn't somebody I wanted to live in my house.
What kind of rental property is this?
It's a studio apartment.
Do you live in the same building?
No, I live next door.
How long have you known her?
I met her, I believe, 4 years ago.
How does your husband know her?
Through acquaintances, I believe.
How did you rent the apartment to Miss Weir, sir?
She was referred to me by a friend.
You contacted Mr. Walker?
Yes.
And said you needed an apartment?
Yes.
And he said?
He had a studio apartment for rent. The people had not quite moved out yet, but he went ahead and showed it to me anyway.
Did you know that your wife was not crazy about Miss Weir?
Not at the time, I didn't know.
What happened, sir, when you told your wife about the new tenant?
She said that she did not want her living there and requested that we ask her to move.
You moved in when?
About the 19th of December.
And when did you find out that she moved in?
While she was moving in.
While?
Yes, I seen her go in.
Well, when you saw her moving in, you said, what are you doing here?
No,
what happened?
I went to him.
Ah, and what did you say to him?
I told him I did not want her to live in my house.
So you told him to get her out?
Exactly.
And what did he say to you?
No.
Did he say why?
Because she had a good job and he trusted the lady that referred her to him.
How long have you two been married?
For 6 years.
So your wife said get her out and you said no, she's got a good job, not getting her out.
Figured I'd give her a chance, yes.
Well, you did. She wasn't happy. So what did you do?
I let it be.
Now, your complaint is that she moved out owing you rent, she caused damage to the apartment, and she harassed you. Miss Weir says that you were the one who harassed her. She wants her security deposit back, and she wants her moving expenses back because it was because of your harassment that she was forced to move. That's your counterclaim.
Yes, that's correct.
When did you move?
I actually moved on February the 7th.
Did you pay December's rent?
No.
Yes.
Yes, I paid December's rent.
Shh. Pay attention.
Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Paid December's rent.
Yes.
Did you pay January's rent?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Tell me why.
After Miss Walker had come to my home and threatened me in front of my daughter, I spoke with Lewis over the phone. He said he would take care of Lacey. He would make sure that would not happen no more. I received a lease a month after I rented the apartment, and everything was exactly different than what he had agreed to verbally with me.
So you moved in without a written lease having been signed?
Right.
Why is that, sir?
We hadn't gotten to it. I was at my shop and I was working. She'd come and given me money, and I told her that I would get the lease written out and get it to her.
Not the way to do business, Mr. Walker. She needs a lease. Till you have a lease, you have no agreement. She's a month-to-month tenant. She doesn't have to give you any notice. Now, how much money did she give you in December, sir?
$675. $475 for the rent, $200 for the deposit.
Your Honor.
Shh.
I'm sorry.
That was December, when she was moving in.
Yes.
Yes.
The deposit was actually $400, and he agreed to let me work the other $200 off because a previous tenant had left the apartment with furniture.
Just a minute. You gave him $475 for rent.
Right.
$200 in cash.
Right.
And the other $200 you say that he allowed you to work off.
Right.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And you moved out February 7th.
Yes. However, I wasn't able to stay there due to them turning off the electricity and the water for 2 weeks before that.
When did they turn off the electricity and water?
Lacey had the water disconnected on the 31st.
Of what?
January. And the electricity as well.
But you had not paid any rent whatsoever for January.
No.
So you lived there for 4 weeks, rent-free. You have no right to cut off water and electricity. You understand that?
Yes, I do. I just figured since she didn't pay rent, is in my name, I shut it off. It's
Well, you can't do that. You know you can't do that. You were told you couldn't do that, right?
No, we were not told. We were not told we couldn't do that.
I'm telling you, you can't do that. She certainly doesn't owe you any money for the 7 days in February that she may have stayed there or had her stuff there because the place was uninhabitable owing to what you did. Did you give her back her deposit?
No, that is for the cleaning that comes afterwards.
No, it's not. That's for damage to the apartment, not for cleaning.
Okay.
You have pictures of the damage to the apartment?
No.
Good. So, from the $475 a month rent that you didn't pay for January, I am deducting her $400 deposit. Anything else you want to tell me? So far, she owes you $75.
Well, since she lived in my house using my utilities under my name, is she responsible for that bill she racked up on me?
No.
She's not.
No. She's going to tell me that the $475 included utilities. You didn't want her there.
I didn't.
And she's not there. Next time you rent to a lady, I would check with my wife, Mr. Walker. Now, you have a counterclaim for your moving expenses and harassment. Your harassment is that you turned off the electricity and she turned off the water. Now, I've already told her she's not permitted by law to do that, okay?
Okay.
I do have a certain amount of sympathy since you had not paid rent for the entire month. So I want you to forget that as a cause of action for harassment. What else?
I have police reports where she's threatened me in front of my daughter. She came to out on her porch and threatened me.
When? Give me the date.
On the 29th.
Of?
January.
Hadn't paid rent a whole month at that point.
But I feel like I had to move because of them.
Who's this friend that we're talking about here?
She's not my friend any longer, my ex-friend. I believe that this friend and Mr. Lewis had a relationship going on.
And that's why
I believe that's what
Mrs.
started
Walker was
all this.
angry?
Yes, I believe that's what started all of this.
That is not true.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
you're supposed to come prepared. Out! Go! What do they think they're supposed to do when they come to court to prepare? Pick out clothes?
For some, that's the extent of it.
A piece of paper would be nice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lacey and Lewis Walker claim former tenant Carrie Weir owes for rent, repair bills, and harassment. Carrie is countersuing for the return of her deposit, moving expenses, and harassment.
Okay, well, you told the police, Miss Walker, that you didn't like her, you didn't want her there, you wanted her to move out, she had been telling lies about your husband and threatening you, you wanted her out.
Exactly.
Okay, so now you're out, right?
Yes, I am
you
out.
moved someplace else, are you happy?
I'm happy. I'm out a lot of money, but I'm happy.
Why are you out of a lot of money?
I had to put another first month's rent, a deposit.
Well, you have to pay rent anyway. So far, you don't have to pay any more rent here. You owe only $75.
But I was there for a month. That put a lot of extra strain on me.
Happens.
You're right, it does.
It was not a good mix.
No, not at all.
Not a good three-way mix. Maybe four.
At this time, I didn't even know who Lacey was.
Well, when you found out, that was a big problem. And I certainly think that she acted inappropriately. I have no idea whether or not you caused any damage to the apartment. I somehow doubt it. Mr. Walker, very good lesson for you. When somebody moves in, before they move in, they sign a lease. You don't take any money from them until the lease is signed. You don't get busy doing something else and then present a lease with terms somewhat different from the ones you had discussed orally. All that is not a good thing. Do you understand?
Yeah, she knew.
Don't tell me what she knew. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $75. That's what you're entitled to. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, you can't help some people. That's what I feel about this incident.
She's a squatter. She's a mooch.
Mr. Walker here likes to have affairs on his wife.
She does everything in her way to break up a happy home.
Carrie's not never seen me with anybody in any kind of sexual content.
I just think they're vindictive people.
She just was a very hateful lady.
Don't trust your friends.
20-year-old Holly Corbella is suing her former high school classmate, 21-year-old Summerlin Gray, for vandalizing her car. Summerlin claims Holly tried to run her over.
Order. All rise.
Now, this is case number 358 on the calendar in the matter of Corbella versus Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Corbella, according to what I've put together from your complaint, you knew the defendant from high school. You weren't friends, but you knew her from high school. And it is your claim that she vandalized your car. She vandalized your car by kicking it with you in it. Correct. This was after some sort of an altercation at a place where she works. The defendant says that if she touched your car or came into contact with your car, it was because you were trying to run her over. And if there was any damage to your car, it was as a result of that. So, how long ago did you graduate from high school?
2004.
And you?
2004, ma'am.
And you weren't friends?
No.
Were you enemies?
Not really. We just didn't really talk.
Didn't talk, didn't care for each other, so you weren't friends, you weren't enemies, you just knew each other?
Yes.
When did this incident happen with your car?
November 10th, 2005.
Where?
In Crinkles, which is her parents' store.
Crinkles?
Yeah.
What kind of a store is it?
It's like a type 7-Eleven type store.
Okay, so tell me what happened on November 10th.
Me and my boyfriend, we went to the store, I believe, to get cigarettes.
To the store that her parents owned?
Yeah, which I didn't even know that her parents owned the store. So we went in. I went in with him to buy the cigarettes. I knew the guy at the cash register, so I was talking to him.
Who was that?
I believe his name was Dan. I knew him from like high school. Like I hadn't seen him in years. And then I just told him that I was going to go sit in the car because there was a line to listen to music. So I went in the car. And he was in the store and she came over.
Stand up, sir.
Yes.
Your last name is?
Lord, L-O-R-D.
Okay, so you were standing on line?
Yes.
She went back to sit in the car?
Yes.
What happened in the store?
I was standing in line, and she had came up to the register talking to the guy that she had said hello to, Dan, I believe. When she started talking, she started saying a lot of things about her. I don't want her in my store, like very bad verbal things, and she didn't know I was with her.
What kind
Can I say it on TV? Just, I don't want that in my store, this and that. I don't, you know, she shouldn't be here. If she ever comes in again, I'm going to kick her. Stuff like that. And I basically, she didn't know I was with her, and I was in the back of the line. And then eventually I was like, do you speak to all your customers like that? And then she basically, you know, started yelling at me, and we got into an argument.
Well, what did she say to you?
She was just like, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Holly Corbella's boyfriend. And she's like, yeah. Well, she's like, you can get out of my store, too. I said, oh, this is your store? And she's like, yeah, it's my store. I said, you own this store, and this is how you respect your customers, by yelling like that.
Okay, so you had a verbal altercation with this young lady.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Basically, it kept going on, and then the guy at the register tried calming her down, calming me down, because we were both arguing, and it started to come outside. She came out to me outside, right in the front
Did you
door.
leave?
Yes, I left.
Did you pay for your cigarettes?
Yes.
Paid for your cigarettes and you walked out?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he's paid for his cigarettes. Is that right, Miss Gray?
No, ma'am.
He didn't pay?
No, ma'am. He
Really?
didn't purchase anything that night, ma'am, and if I may, I will
Just
start...
a second. So
Okay.
he didn't purchase anything. Are you saying you didn't walk out with your cigarettes?
I purchased a 6-pack of Heineken and a pack of cigarettes. Marlboro.
And you paid for them?
Cash.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Miss Gray. I believe him.
Okay. Well,
I believe that he waited online because he wasn't leaving without those cigarettes and he wasn't leaving without the beer. So I believe...
Well, why would anybody, right?
Just a second. Because he's waited online, he's already argued with you, so he may have been disgusted with your store, but he wasn't leaving without his items. So I believe he bought them and he paid for them.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Now, you want to tell me what problem you had with Miss Corbella?
Well, that night, ma'am, Miss Corbella had walked into the food side of my store, and her boyfriend had walked into the liquor side of my store. Holly seen me. She looked directly in my eyes. I didn't say anything out loud to where any customers heard anything, and I pulled my brother aside, who is the manager, and I said, I don't want her in this store. I don't trust her. I've had altercations with her from stealing and hearing...
I thought you said that you didn't have any bad contact with her.
No, I don't.
So what do you mean?
Because my friend has gotten in trouble from her stealing, whatever.
What do you mean your friends got into trouble with her from stealing?
We were never friends, never liked each other. We had this one friend that was friends with me and friends with her.
Yes.
My friend that was also friends with both of us got in trouble with her stealing.
Just a second. So your friend was arrested for stealing, for theft?
Yes.
And according to you, she was with this friend when she got arrested for stealing?
Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested for stealing?
No.
Just your friend was arrested for stealing?
With her, yes.
No. Listen to me.
Yes, she wasn't arrested. No, yes, my friend was
Just
arrested.
your friend was arrested for
Yes.
stealing. Now, he's on his way out the door. Why did you follow him out the door? Look at me.
I followed him out the door because the altercation that happened inside my parents' store, he left mad, and she actually was inside the store when the fighting was going on. So she heard everything and she seen everything. I followed him out of this store because my car was in the parking lot, and I didn't want anything happening to my car, anything in the parking lot, because
Now.
they threatened me.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Very carefully. There was a line when Mr. Lord was waiting to pay for his cigarettes and his beer, which means there were other customers in the store.
Right.
How many other customers would you say were in the store?
There were only about 3, ma'am.
And is your store a standalone store, or are there other stores in a shopping mall? Or
It's a standalone, ma'am.
how many people were in the store after Mr. Lord left the store?
The same 3, ma'am.
So that there were at least 3 other cars out there. Is
Right.
that right? Listen to me carefully. Plus your car, right?
Plus my car, yes.
And you hadn't seen Miss Corbella since high school, right? And you never met Mr. Lord, right?
Right.
So how do they know which is your car and which is a
Holly
car that
Corbella
belongs?
knows well what my car looks like. I've had the same car since high school, and she's seen my car outside her friend's car and me get into it a couple of times and drive away.
Great.
So
Did she
knows-
just listen to me? Did she ever hurt your car before?
We've never had an altercation.
Just listen to me. Did
No.
she ever hurt your
No,
car
ma'am.
before?
No.
What happened when she followed you outside?
We were still arguing. She told me, you know, I'm going to kick her if she doesn't leave. So I walked up into the car. As I got in the car, no lie, the size of her, I was surprised how strong she came at the car and kicked the car in right where I was. As I closed the door, she came and kicked it. There was no running over her. Then she even went in front of the car as we were leaving. And Holly was all nervous, so she was trying to get around her. The car was already kicked.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see
I have
it,
a couple
please.
pictures, actually.
Were you there, sir?
I was outside smoking a cigarette, Your Honor.
I don't remember.
Oh, this is a kick, Miss Gray. This is a kick, my dear.
This is not a kick.
Yeah, this is a kick, Miss Hot Temper.
Okay.
This is a kick. This is not I fell into your car accidentally. This is a kick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No.
And later today,
The forgery was in 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you incarcerated?
New Year's Eve, 05.
Took them 3 years to figure it out?
Took them 3 years to catch me, man.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Holly Corbella says former high school classmate Summerlin Gray vandalized her car. Summerlin says Holly tried to run her over after a confrontation with her boyfriend.
Does this look like I fell into the car accidentally, or does this look like somebody kicked it?
It was a running
fell into it several times.
Looks like I fell into it several times. Got a hot temper, madam. You can't do that. You can't
I'm sorry,
vandalize
ma'am.
somebody
if
else's
somebody
car.
comes into my family business, he had nothing to do with what I said to her because he didn't even hear me.
What does that have to do with kicking his car?
He wanted to throw a beer case at me over my family counter is what the first threat was. And then, yes, I did go outside to make sure everything was okay in the parking lot. He did not get directly in the car. He stood in my face threatening me to where the point my brother had to come outside and separate us.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with kicking her car?
I didn't kick her car,
You
ma'am.
did.
I flew backwards. No, I did not.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No. Could I have an estimate, please, to fix this car where Miss Hot Temper kicked your car?
And ma'am,
Your
they did
parents
not
leave
keep-
you in charge of that business often?
Actually, I'm not in charge, ma'am.
Well, it's good that at least they have some brains. They don't leave you in charge. But
guess.
does somebody monitor the two of you in that store?
He doesn't work there, ma'am. He was waiting for me to get off.
They don't trust you to work in the store. They trust her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $940. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Do not come in my family's business and start a problem for no reason.
Come up with a case like that to make an excuse that she ran into the car was just absurd.
I could have just told the manager to simply ask her to leave, but her boyfriend insisted in carrying on the situation.
She's just mad that she lost her temper, kicked the car, and now she has to pay for it.
I don't want a theft in my family store, and that's the point of my story.
I don't steal. I've never stolen anything before in my life.
Because of her past. I know her past.
I've never been arrested. I would never damage her car.
They will never be allowed in the store again.
I'm just glad that she gets what she deserves, and I finally get to get my car fixed.
Amy Cox and her daughter, 16-year-old Shannon Turnowitz, are suing Shannon's father, Mark Turnowitz, for the insurance money he received from a vehicle she totaled.
Yeah, this is case number 340 on the calendar in the matter of Cox Turnowitz versus Turnowitz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your last name is Cox, is that right? This is your former husband, this is your daughter, and your daughter.
Yes.
I assume you've been divorced for a while. You have 2 children. Your son lives with you. Your daughter lives with you.
Yes. Yes.
And I would have assumed before this car incident that everybody got along reasonably well. So, Daddy wanted to do a good deed, and he bought you a present for your 16th birthday.
Yes.
Bought you a car.
Yes.
A new car.
Yes.
That's some good daddy. According to your complaint, Miss Cox, the arrangement was that he would carry the insurance on the car. It was in his name. It can't be in your daughter's name because she's a minor. So he had increased insurance because now he's got another minor on his insurance. The insurance was something like $200 a month,
Yes.
which your daughter paid. Yes. And then you had an accident with the car was totaled.
Yes, ma'am.
Dad got the insurance money for the car. You feel as if that money was yours.
Yes.
And your dad says that the insurance money isn't yours. He bought the car. He wanted to feel as if you acted responsibly in the car, that the accident, as it turned out, was a result of, he believes, your negligence. And he's not buying you another car for a while, and he's not giving you the money for another car so that you can buy it for a while, because he's the daddy, and that's his prerogative. That's your defense.
Yes.
So I'm prepared to hear you, Miss Cox.
Your Honor, prior to this whole incident, we've been best friends. To where I let his family live with us for 6 months while their home was being built. My new husband, they became very close, very good friends. They purchased a house, they sold the house. After they sold the house, they moved out in February of this year, of 2006. They went on a spending spree. They bought 7 vehicles. They bought Shannon a car that they gave her and said it was because Shannon...
No, let Shannon tell me. Your dad gave you a car, and what did he say when he gave you the car?
He said to me that it was because I miss out on the things because I don't live with him that they usually get around the house and stuff. And so he said in place of that, he bought me a car. When he gave me the car, he said that there would be 2 stipulations. One, I would have to pay car insurance, and the other one was that when I got my license, that he would put the car in my name.
Well, he can't put the car in your name because you're a minor.
We didn't even know that.
Okay.
And so I started paying car insurance when I got my license, and I feel that since the car was mine, it was given to me as a gift, that I should get the money.
And what are you going to do with the money?
Buy a new car.
But not a brand new car.
Tell me about the accident you got into.
I was going down a hill. I moved my foot from the brake to the gas pedal. The gas pedal got stuck between my foot and the sandal.
You were wearing what kind of shoes?
Sandals.
Flip-flops?
Yes.
That's not a good thing to do when you're driving a car.
No, it's not.
Did you know that before you got into the car?
No, because that's usually what I wear, and so...
Well, you know, I found this case to be kind of interesting because there is a certain wisdom in your parent being able to say, listen, I'm uncomfortable. I gave you a car, but you could have been killed. And how am I going to feel as if I gave you the car and then you got killed and it's my fault? Because but for the fact that I gave you this car, you'd be alive. You'd never get over that as a parent. Never. You got it? So we'll come up with a more reasonable solution. I assume that you want to do that, sir, because I assume that you don't want to be estranged from your daughter.
Well, Your Honor, I bought all the kids a car. Yes, I did buy 7 vehicles, but I bought my oldest daughter a car, who is my stepdaughter. She wrecked it. It was in my name. She totaled it. Didn't learn my lesson the first time. We did not buy her a new car. We did not get her another car. Her grandmother and grandfather eventually bought her a car. My son, I bought him a car. His car is now in his name because he's 19, has a job, goes to college full-time. He's doing well. I signed it over to him. He's good to go. We gave Shannon the privilege to drive the brand new car, 07, because Shannon doesn't get the benefits that Nicholas gets at the house every day or other kids get.
You have stepchildren? How many?
1, and she's 20. Then my youngest has a car sitting at home now that he'll be able to drive when he gets his license. What we did was about 2 weeks ago, we offered that car to Shannon to drive. And her mother turned us down and said she will not drive anything unless it's in her name. So,
well, that's a mistake.
I'm pretty much.
No. That's. But Ms. Cox, I'm here trying to put a moral solution in this situation, and I find, you know, your father's position pretty solid. I would have no problem if he said, "Listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the money that I got from the insurance, which is what, $12,000?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to put it in a bank account, your name and my name. When you turn 18, you can take that money and go buy a car."
That's what
Your Honor, that's what we asked.
Just a second, because I made you a gift, but I'm not prepared to, at this stage, give you the privilege of having a car because I don't think you're ready to have a car. And I don't want to destroy my whole life if, God forbid, something else happens. Is that a solution?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because I've told all the kids the same exact thing, and she should be no different. You mess it up, you don't do well, you're not responsible, you're done, I'm not going to get you another one.
Okay. The act of irresponsibility that you're talking about was the fact that she was wearing flip-flops in the car. Is that right? That, Mr. Turnowitz, is not such an egregious act, in my judgment, as to vitiate the gift. You see, you made a gift to her.
A privilege.
No, sir. Sorry.
Privilege.
See, no, sir.
Okay.
Wrong. You made a gift to her, and you set certain conditions. And the conditions were you have to be responsible and pay the insurance. Certainly, If she had wrecked this car while under the influence of alcohol, while she was speeding, while she was out at 4 o'clock in the morning with friends and there was beer in the car, I would say absolutely vitiates the gift because it was a conditional gift. But now you're asking me to judge whether the wearing of sandals, flip-flops in the car is such an egregious violation as to say that she's irresponsible, and I say it is not. I'm on your side. I don't think that you have to replace this car right now, and I don't think that you have to give her the money right now for the car. But I think when you make a gift to a child, and it was not a privilege of driving because that's fancy footwork, and believe me, Mr. Turnowitz, I understand that you have a stepdaughter, and I understand that you made a rule for your stepdaughter, and that you feel as if, well, I can't show any favoritism from one to the other. That comes under the category of too bad.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We're not talking to the wife. We're talking to him. I believe he's a real good guy. Maybe caught between a rock and a hard place when he gets home. That's not my problem.
And later today.
As I'm in the kitchen, my daughter comes out of my bedroom, and I all of a sudden heard the dog screaming, and the boys are silent.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Shannon Turnowitz says her father, Mark Turnowitz, owes for the return of insurance money he collected on a vehicle she totaled. Mark claims Shannon is irresponsible.
Mr. Turnowitz, you made a conditional gift, and the conditions were not broken. She paid the insurance on the car. You go to school?
Yes, ma'am.
You do reasonably well in school?
Yes, ma'am.
Get good grades?
3.333.
That's pretty good grades. So, you either have two choices, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
She has no job, Your Honor. She can't pay for the car insurance anymore.
Just a second. I'm not asking you, sir, to get her another car now. That's not what I'm saying to you.
I still have to pay insurance. I cannot drop her off my insurance because she is a minor.
I'm not suggesting to you that you keep her on your insurance.
I have to. Geico will not let me drop her unless I prove that she has her own insurance or she is on somebody else's policy.
Mr. Turnowitz, you're not following me, sir. Just because she turned 16, I've had a lot of children that turned 16. Just because she turned 16, you don't have to be on anybody's insurance as long as you're not driving a car. And you're not giving her the car. I'm not suggesting
but
to you...
But she's allowed to drive, Your Honor. She has a license. She can get in her mother's car and go drive under my insurance.
No. Not under your insurance, under her mother's insurance.
Well, then you have to put her on your insurance.
Just a second. Of course.
Okay.
If you're not getting her a car, mother's got to put her under her insurance, and it's going to be an expensive proposition.
Yes, it will.
Absolutely, because now she's been in an accident where a car's been totaled. You are not responsible for keeping your daughter on any insurance.
Okay.
Finished. So let's try to work this out. Okay. You want to let her drive your car? Fine, but you better put her on your insurance because otherwise, if something happens, you could lose everything that you own.
Your Honor, when Mark's wife called me and offered me the other car, I told her, I said, there's two problems with this, Denise. First of all, it's a stick. She's terrified to get behind the wheel of a car as it is.
We're not even dealing with that issue anymore.
This goes towards the insurance part. I also told her, I said, Denise, if you take that money and you put it in an account somewhere in Shannon and Mark's name, and when she's 18, she can have that money to purchase her own vehicle, that's fine. I'll take her off your insurance and I'll put her on mine, and she'll drive my husband's truck.
Just a second. That's exactly what I said.
And that's what I told his wife.
Just a second. That's a reasonable solution. And it's a solution that...
Your Honor, her answer to me was that she spent the money.
Just a second. Just a second. We're not talking to the wife. We're talking to him.
That was never brought to me, Your Honor.
We're talking to him. And he's a good guy. Maybe caught between a rock and a hard place when he gets home. That's not my problem. But he looks like a real good guy, and he looks like a guy who loves his children and wants to be a very good father. Doesn't want his children to be angry with him, and especially a child that's got a 3.33 average, who evidently both of you did a terrific job with. So, Mr. Turnowitz, I think that you should take that money and put it in a bank account so that your daughter will have a car when she turns 18. As long as she behaves responsibly and continues to do well, she'll be off to college when she's 18. And you feel as if, well, now you're on your way, just like your son's on his way. Is that a reasonable solution?
Yes, Your Honor.
Done. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
Shannon and I talked about it, and her final words to her father when he basically told her to go to, excuse my French, was, fine, Dad, I'm going to take you to court.
I honestly don't think it was my daughter. I think it was my ex-wife pushing my daughter to do this.
The friendship is gone.
It depends on what happens. You know, I'm pretty much done with the two of them.
You just said that our relationship was over.
They got through some issues last year, and I'm sure they'll get through this one, too.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Price versus Emerson, step forward.
Peggy Price is suing her ex-boyfriend, Corey Emerson, for loans to pay rent, fix his bike, and travel to his brother's wedding. Corey says the money she gave him was never a loan.
Ms. Price, Mr. Emerson was your boyfriend for a brief period of time, and according to your complaint, you made a series of loans to him. You want your money back because he broke off the relationship. He says that he did break off the relationship. Any money that you gave him during the relationship were gifts because you cared for him. He needed the money. That's what people do who care for each other. They help each other out. And the only time it became a loan was when he broke up with you. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. Emerson?
30 years old.
Ever been married?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
Just once.
When and for how long?
I was married when I was 20 for 9 years.
You have children?
2.
How old are your children?
9 and 10.
Do you see them?
Almost every day.
So you're a good father.
I try to be, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Emerson?
I work for the railroad.
And how long have you worked for the railroad?
6.5 years.
Pay child support?
Yes, ma'am.
What about you, Miss Price? How old are you?
32.
Ever been married?
Yes.
When and for how long?
2000 until 2005.
Have any children?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 13.
Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm self-employed hairstylist.
Children see their father?
Yes.
Do you pay child support?
He's disabled, so they get Social Security.
And your former wife, sir, what does she do?
She has an in-home daycare.
So it would be a fair statement, Mr. Emerson, to say that both of these families are sort of struggling to make ends meet financially. That be a fair statement?
I wouldn't say that I'm struggling, nor would I say she's struggling at all.
Really?
That's correct.
You think there's plenty of money to go around?
I do.
Then why would you take money from her, Mr. Emerson?
I didn't take any money.
No, listen to me, sir.
Oh.
You did take money from her. Whether it's a gift or a loan, you did take money from her, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, if these two families are in pretty much similar circumstance, why would you take money from her?
Things come up, things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not? Is my question. Why not? Would not a person with a certain moral compass say, listen, you're a working gal, you got 2 little children. I'm a working guy, I got 2 little children.
Somebody offers me money, who am I to say no?
A creep. That's who you are. Because whether I determine this was a gift or a loan, you're a creep. You're not talking about somebody who's got plenty of extra cash and says to somebody that she cares about, listen, I got a lot of extra cash. You need something, I'll help you with it. You were pretty well aware of the fact, if you were dating for a while, that she's a hard-working gal who comes home from work, takes care of her kids, does the cooking, whatever, does everything that has to be done. And you, on the other hand, who see your children every day, which is really very nice, probably have much less responsibility with regard to doing their laundry, with regard to taking them to their appointments, with regard to doing the general stuff, what I call the grunt work, because your children do live with their mother, don't they?
Yes, ma'am.
So now we're going to decide whether you are a creep that took the money because it was a loan or a creep that took the money because it was a gift. Either way, I don't approve of your behavior. Now, when did you start dating Mr. Emerson?
The second week of May, 2006.
Tell me when and under what circumstances he asked you for the first amount of money.
He wrecked his bike, the fork broke. He said that he didn't have the money to pay for it. Sent me a text message, can you do me a huge favor? That's how all of them start.
Could you do me a huge favor?
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did it say?
I need money to pay for the fork for my bike.
Okay.
So I said under the condition that he make payments, whatever. Eventually it's got to be paid back.
When did you tell him eventually it has to be paid back?
I didn't set a date. I just said, whenever you can pay me back.
Okay, so and how much was that for?
This check was for $409.81.
Okay, next.
Then he was having problems. He didn't have enough money to pay his rent. So
how did you find out about that?
He sent me a text message again asking him to help him pay his rent. And I said, how much is it? And he said it was $640 with late fees. I said, how much do you have? He said he had like $400 in the bank. And I said, I can help you out, but once again, it's, we're adding this on. So I wrote a check for $640, but he gave me $403 of it.
Go ahead.
Then he had to get home. His brother's wedding was like a month before.
He had to go to a wedding?
To Montana. And, we talked about it, and I'm like, I can help you out if you want me to, whatever, I can help you out.
I don't want whatever. You're in court now, Miss Price. You have to be specific about what you said to him and what he said to you, and I want you to trust me on this. I know what you're making up and I know what you're not making up. Do you understand?
Right.
So a month later, he had a wedding?
Yes.
Where were you when he asked you for the money for the trip?
We were at a bar.
And what did he say to you?
He just said that he didn't have the money to get there. Could I help him out?
And what did you say?
I said, I can do what I can, but...
And how much was that?
The plane ticket was $346.60, and the Greyhound bus that I put him on, because I waited till the last minute to get the plane ticket, and it was going to be $900. So I wasn't going to do that. I didn't have the money to do that, and he knew that. So I sent him on a Greyhound, and that was $159.
Okay, and that's it?
Yes.
And what date was that?
He left on the 1st of August and returned on the 8th.
And when did you and Mr. Emerson stop seeing each other?
He came in on the 11th, which was a Friday, at about noon.
To your salon?
My work, yes. I proceeded to give him and his son a haircut at no charge, thinking everything was okay, because we'd had no problems up till then. And I got a text message 6 hours later from him saying that we needed a break, and, this wasn't working, it was moving too fast, and... So we went back and forth through text messages, and I said, I have the right to know why you're feeling this way. I've done everything in the relationship I've given.
And he said?
He said, since you're giving me an ultimatum, it's over.
Okay, now, Mr. Emerson, it's your turn. June. June!
June, the mountain bike. I wrecked my mountain bike. It was going to cost about $400 to fix it. I had talked with Peggy about the price, and she offered to pay for it.
What would you talk to her about the price for?
Well, we're in a relationship. We talked about, I talked about wrecking my mountain bike and, what it was going to be to fix it. And
why would you tell her that? Why don't you tell your ex-wife that?
Actually, I did tell my ex-wife that.
Did she give you any money?
No.
You have living parents?
Yes.
Yeah, well, your mother loves you for a longer time than the plaintiff did. Why don't you call your mother and say, I broke my spoke?
I didn't need to. The plaintiff had already offered to pay for it.
She wouldn't need to have offered to have paid for it, Mr. Emerson, if you didn't have a problem. And you wouldn't have had a problem if you called your mother or your father or your brother or your sister and said, could you loan me some money? Then you wouldn't have even had to mention it to her.
It wasn't a loan. She just offered to pay for it, ma'am.
Well, what about Mr. Emerson? You need not do that. I only know you 8 weeks. And I wouldn't think of taking any money from you because I have a mother who gave birth to me. I have an ex-wife who I support along with my 2 children. I have a brother, sister, father, who I've known a long time. I wouldn't think of taking money from you. How about that?
Didn't even cross my mind.
Nah, that's because you're a creep. Mr. Emerson, you want to tell me what cathartic event happened between the 1st of August when you went home to your brother's wedding and the 11th of August when you had your hair cut and your son's hair cut for free at Miss Price's salon that caused you to send her a text message that said, we need a break?
It had been leading up to that.
I want you to tell me the cathartic event between August 1st, when you left on a plane ticket that she purchased for you, and when you came back on a Greyhound bus ticket that she had purchased for you that caused you to say, we need a break.
Okay, it was
Follow my train of thought, sir.
It was big deal was the plane ticket. She tells you she's going to do something and she'll play along with the story. I'm going to do this. I've got it taken care of. Don't worry. I'll do it.
Just a second. Just a second. Let's get rid of the gobbledygook, sir. What you're complaining about is
the fact that she does not follow through.
Listen, what you're saying is she sent you home by bus instead of plane. Is that what you're telling me?
That was one of the problems, yes.
Oh, very good. Major creep. Major creep. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,154. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm disappointed there was never any agreement that any money would be paid back.
It was a loan, and he said he owed me nothing.
It was all offered with no strings attached.
He continued to say he owed me nothing.
There was nothing malicious about any of my activities.
I told him he couldn't get any more money when he came back.
I feel I did nothing wrong.
He dumped me.
He was just refusing to go back home. He said he was being abused.
My son being abused, those allegations are unfounded. It is not true.
I did everything I was supposed to do. I called CPS, I called the police.
Like I said, the allegations were unfounded.
It just doesn't pay to be a good Samaritan and try to help people out. It just doesn't pay.
I really am sorry for what I did to Miss Eleanor's car.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bellinger Nicoletti versus Nicoletti. Step forward.
Cheryl Bellinger and her daughter, Lauren Nicoletti, claim Lauren's grandmother, Louise Nicoletti, owes for the return of Lauren's high school diploma, her baptismal gown, and several savings bonds.
Miss Bellinger, this lady is your former mother-in-law. Was this your former husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is how old?
20.
According to your complaint, I gather when you and your former husband were divorced some 15 years ago, your daughter was in the physical custody of her father, who lived with his mother, so that it was really your grandmother and your father who raised you. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Was your grandmother good to you for the 15 years you lived with her?
Yes.
Did she love you?
Yes.
When did you leave her home?
March of this year.
And why did you leave her home, Lauren?
Because I was sick of being questioned, the 50 questions.
About what?
About who I'm with, where I'm going.
You mean your social life?
Yes.
You felt that they were too intrusive into your social life?
Yes.
While you were living with your father and your grandmother, did you see your mother?
No.
Okay. Now, Lauren, I'm going to ask you to sit down.
Okay.
Okay? It is your claim, Miss Bellinger, that the defendant has property that belongs to your daughter. I assume that the reason you're suing on her behalf is that there is some allegation that she needs some help in certain academic areas. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, during the time that your daughter was with her grandmother, were you under a child support order?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay it?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the order?
It was $86 per week.
And you paid every week?
Yes, there were some years that I didn't pay because I wasn't working.
I don't care whether you were working or not. That's not relevant to me. All I want to know is, did you pay every week? And the answer is no, you didn't. And there were years that you didn't pay.
There was approximately 2 years. I had 2 sons that I had given birth to.
2 years is a very long time not to pay child support. Now, this is your complaint on your daughter's behalf. First of all, you say that your former mother-in-law has your daughter's high school diploma. That she is prepared to turn over to her. So, Bird, would you take the high school diploma, please, and give it to Lauren, who wants a high school diploma. Okay, Lauren?
Yes.
Then there is a question of a baptismal gown. How old was your daughter?
She was about 3 months.
Now, why would you want that?
So I could pass it on to my daughter for her children.
You mean give it to Lauren?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Lauren, do you want your baptismal gown?
Yes.
Okay. Should give that to her. And I understand that you're annoyed at the whole thing because the mother put it out for a garage sale.
Yes.
And she was going to sell it to a stranger.
For $5.
For $5. Is that right?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes,
well, I
it
believe
is,
that that's
Cheryl.
true, Miss Bellinger, because I'm looking at your face, and I believe that that's true, that you were going to sell it, and they retrieved it. At this point, it's important to your daughter. Is that what you want, Lauren? You're going to take care of it?
Yes.
If we give it to you? Okay. Your grandmother is going to give that to you. Okay?
Okay, I will.
Perfect. Now we come to the bigger issue. You say, Miss Bellinger, that over the years, your daughter was given U.S. savings bonds, and you believe thousands and thousands of dollars of U.S. savings bonds. Who gave them to her?
Friends and family when she was baptized and for her first birthday and years beyond that.
How do you know that? Did you give them to her?
No, but I was there during her baptismal and during her first birthday.
How many did you give her?
I didn't give her any.
Okay. Mrs. Nicoletti, how many bonds does Lauren have?
There's 4 here.
May I see them, please? And are those all the bonds she received?
Yes.
May I see them, please? I see 3.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 are in my social security number, and 1 is in Lauren's social security number.
Do you remember who these were from?
No, I don't. They were gifts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Lauren, I'm going to ask you to stand up now just for a second. I just have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Tell me why you want your bonds now. There is some $600 worth of bonds. Some of them have accumulated even more interest, not $5,000 worth of bonds. Tell me why you want the money now.
Because I need to get a car to get back and forth to work.
Okay, good. Your grandmother indicated to me that she would love to be able to give this money to you if it was going to be used for you.
It is. It's going to be used so I get a car.
Great. That being the case, Miss Nicoletti, do you have any problem with your granddaughter having these bonds?
She called me a couple of weeks ago and said she wanted the bonds to buy her a car for $300. And I said, you get a car for $300, you're going to have to put a lot of maintenance work into it.
That's true.
And she never answered my question when I asked her if she had a driver's license because her mother was telling her, get off the phone, hang up on her.
Well,
so I don't even know if she has a license.
Lauren, do you have a driver's license?
No, I have a permit from New York.
When do you think that you're going to get your driver's license?
As soon as I get back home.
Would you mind if I did this? Listen to me carefully. Would you mind if I let your grandmother keep these bonds until you get your driver's license?
It's probably going to be like 2 days after I get back.
Perfect. She's going to send them to you. Now, I also think, Miss Bellinger, that since you did not pay child support for years, that instead of having your daughter spend $600 on a car, you ought to buy her a nice car and maybe just use this money as a down payment. Because clearly your former husband and his mother took care of a responsibility that was at least partially yours that you didn't take care of. And now that your daughter's 20 and she's living with you, it would seem to me that you would want to pick up the slack that you hadn't for 15 years and help her buy a car for more than $300 that won't give her any trouble. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
She's exactly $7,282.71 behind. And,
In arrears.
In arrears.
Okay. Now, the fact, Miss Bellinger, that you had 2 other children,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll say to you what I would say to any man that stood in your place. You had 2 other children, fully understanding that you had a prior responsibility. Your prior responsibility was this child. And if you chose to have 2 other children, you should have had enough money and resources to support all 3 of your children.
My husband that I was married to when I had my 2 sons refused to let me work.
Then you shouldn't have married him. Then you shouldn't have married him. Just because you are a woman does not separate you from the law. And the law would not permit that as an excuse for a man who decided to get married and have other children and say to his new wife, you can't work, so I can't take care of my first responsibility, and it doesn't relieve you of that responsibility either.
Your Honor?
So, just a second. I don't need any help from you.
Okay.
I don't need any help from you. I'm returning these bonds to you as soon as Lauren mails you a copy of her driver's license. Got it, Lauren?
Yes.
You're going to send her these bonds because that's what she wants to use the money for, to buy a car. But first, she should have a driver's license.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor.
What?
Can I say something?
Yes.
Lauren can't use my car to get a license because I drive a stick shift. She has to drive an automatic, and this is why she wanted to purchase a car prior
She
to her
cannot
getting
purchase a car without a driver's license, a valid driver's license. And if you think that I am going to permit her to purchase a car in your name because you have a valid driver's license, you're crazy.
I did it.
Give them back to her, please.
I did it for my stepdaughter.
Listen, you may have done it for your stepdaughter, and you may have done it for your 2 sons. You've done very little for your daughter, so I would suggest of the $7,000 that they're not going to see of your back child support, purchase a car for your daughter. That's all.
Judge, they step out.
All the vindictiveness back and forth, and I'm tired of it.
We have not been vindictive.
I've been divorced for him for 15 years.
We've been a caring, loving grandparents and father for this child.
And I'm tired of it. I really am.
In fact, we would love to hug her right now because we haven't hugged or seen her since April.
She deserves what she has coming, and they belong to her.
Because the mother's keeping her away from us.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Leonard versus Calvert. Step forward, please.
Carol Leonard is suing her ex-fiancé, Brian Calvert, for wrecking a 4-wheel ATV when he drove it drunk. Brian claims the bike had a malfunction.
Miss Leonard, you and Mr. Calvert were in a relationship. You met at work, according to your complaint. Shortly after you met, Mr. Calvert wanted to buy a 4-wheeler. And according to you, he got drunk?
Yes, he did.
He took out the 4-wheeler?
Mm-hmm.
He wrecked it?
Correct.
And since it was purchased on your credit, you're stuck with it?
Correct.
Mr. Calvert has an interesting defense. First, he says that you bought it for him.
No.
He merely helped to make the payments on it because he was a nice guy. And if I don't believe that story, then it's really your fault that he wrecked the bike because the bike had a recall notice that was in your mail that you didn't tell him about. And since he almost got killed, it was your fault that he's got $8,000 worth of medical bills because if you had told him about the recall notice, he would have taken the bike in to have it checked. That's his defense. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Leonard, when did you and Mr. Calvert start to have a relationship?
The beginning of August 2005.
And when did you buy these wheelers?
August 19th.
Of 2005?
Yes.
Well, tell me about the conversation that you had. You knew him for a couple of weeks.
Well, I had a business relationship with him before that. And then I did start dating him, and he said he wanted to buy the four-wheeler. We call them bikes. But his log home hadn't sold yet. It was going to sell in September. And he said if I bought it, he would have it for my birthday. My birthday's August 31st, and then he would pay me for it when his log home sold.
What do you mean he would have it for your birthday? So he was giving it to you as a birthday
No,
present?
we were going to go. They're actually a lot of fun to ride in West Virginia, and we were going to go on a big ride for my birthday.
When did you and Mr. Calvert separate?
Shortly after this accident, the beginning of May.
Okay. Now, how many payments did he make on the bike?
Probably about 3.
And what happened?
He did not keep making them, and it strained our relationship. And the problem really with Brian and with this whole incident is that he has a serious alcohol problem. And alcohol basically has ruined his life because we had a good relationship when we were together. He didn't drink, but when he does drink, it's a nightmare. He either goes to jail or he goes to the hospital. One or the other. And that's what happened with this. As a matter of fact, he has 4 DUIs. 1 was on a four-wheeler.
You still didn't tell me what happened when he stopped making the payments. If you
Nothing.
made 3
I made
payments.
the payments.
The accident was in May of 2006?
April.
April. Did you start drinking in April, Mr. Calvert?
I had a couple of drinks that night, ma'am.
Why?
Just the rest of us was drinking.
But you know you have a drinking problem.
I had a drinking problem, ma'am.
No, you have a drinking problem. You're always an alcoholic if you have a drinking problem.
Yes, ma'am.
You may be a recovering alcoholic, but you're always an alcoholic.
Yes, ma'am.
So what caused you to drink?
We was just having a couple beers, ma'am.
But you hadn't been drinking for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
And after you started to drink, you got on the four-wheeler?
We was on the four-wheeler before we started to drink. I mean, we had the alcohol with us.
You ended up in the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
How seriously injured were you?
$8,000 worth of hospital bills.
Now, Miss Leonard, did you ever receive a recall notice on these bikes?
The one that he was talking about with the throttle sticking, that was fixed before I ever bought the bike. And I have that statement right there.
Can I see it, please?
Right here is the claims history that the throttle was fixed prior to my purchasing it.
Have you seen this, sir? That the throttle that you complain about was fixed? And the repair was done August 19th of 05, when it had 2 miles on it.
On that bike, it wasn't, we bought the bikes before that. I mean,
No, sir, I don't care when you bought the bikes. Just listen to me. This indicates that on the VIN number of your bike, that throttle problem was repaired, looks like before it was purchased. The repair was done on the 19th of August, which is the date that it was purchased. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to look at this?
No, ma'am.
So the throttle didn't freeze, sir. Your brain froze. So that takes care of the second defense that you had. The throttle was fixed at the point of purchase. So if there was a recall notice generally sent out to everybody who had this bike, yours had already been fixed. So let's not deal with that piece. Let's deal with the fact that it was bought for you. You want to tell me that story?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
Her son wanted a different bike at the time, and she said, no, we're buying this bike because, I mean, that's the bike that she said, you know, I preferred to get. So that's the bike she got.
For her son?
No, it was too big for her son.
Just a second. I'm not following you, sir. I mean, if you're trying to confuse me, you're doing a very, very good job, and I'm not easy to confuse.
The bike was bought for me, ma'am.
You mean as a gift?
Yes, ma'am.
Then why did you make payments on it?
I helped her out when she needed help when making the payments on it.
Well, explain that to me, sir. Explain to me how it came about that you helped her out.
Numerous of times she asked me to make the bike payment.
Tell me about it. When was the first time she asked you to make a bike payment?
I don't have the dates with me.
Well, where are you supposed to get them from?
I gave her cash money, ma'am.
You think I believe you? Why in the world, sir, if she was involved with you 2 weeks, would she spend $7,000 on you? Why?
Ma'am, we lived together at the time.
No, that's not true.
Not August 19th, sir. You did not.
If she only knew me 2 weeks, she's not going to go out here and spend $7,000.
I didn't say she was involved with you for 2 weeks. She knew you from work, but she was involved with you for 2 weeks. Why in the world would she spend $7,000 for you? Now, at the time that these bikes were purchased, did you have a log home?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you in the process of selling the log home?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell her that you would give her back this money when you sold the log home?
No, ma'am.
When did you sell the log home?
End of August.
End of August. So if she said to me that you were planning on selling the log home, which she put in her complaint, and you were going to get the money when you sold the log home, that has a ring of truth to it. Wouldn't you say that, Mr. Calvert?
She's the one that sold the log home. She's a real estate.
You mean she sold the home and she got the money?
She sold the home, ma'am.
I'm asking you, she sold the home and she got the money, or she sold the home through her business and you got the money?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, what?
Yes, I got the money.
And what did you do with the money when you got it?
Put it back into more homes, ma'am.
You purchased more homes?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a discussion with Miss Leonard about purchasing more homes after she sold that home for you?
No, ma'am.
Did he?
Yes, he talked to me about building more homes.
What did he say about the payments on the bike?
He said to me, I want to just make payments on it until I get another log home, and then when he sold that, then he would pay me for the bike. He was kind of dragging it out.
Can I ask you a question, Miss Leonard?
Yes.
Was he as animated when you were living as a couple as he is today?
He's actually a very talented and sensitive person. His problem is his drinking.
You could never tell by me. It's going to cost to get this thing fixed.
I have an estimate for $5,800.
May I see it, please? How much is left to pay off on the bike?
$6,550.
And you have no insurance?
I have no insurance.
Why?
This is good for anyone else who purchases a four-wheeler. Your homeowner's insurance does not cover those, and when I purchased the bike, they told me my homeowners would cover it.
No, you need individual insurance for these things. All right, Mr. Calvert, you know the two defenses we were talking about when we first started this case? I don't believe either one of them. Just for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
After a case of beer in 2 hours, you're going to have an accident.
Bangs to the head.
He drinks one beer right after another until a disaster happens.
Leg. I still have problems with my other leg.
But he doesn't want to admit that was what caused it.
It wasn't the drinking that was causing the accident.
You have to be very careful with somebody who has a problem with alcohol. Very careful.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Young versus Young. Step forward.
Christine Young is suing her son, Shannon Young, for missed payments on a car she helped him buy. Shannon says his mom repossessed the vehicle in question.
Mrs. Young, this is your son. And according to your complaint, he purchased a car. You co-signed for the car for him because he couldn't get the car using his own credit. There came a time he stopped making the car payments. You were forced to assume the car payments. Ultimately, you repossessed the car, took it back from him. Your former husband, his father, took over the car at some point. You want your son to be responsible for the car payments that you made between the time he stopped making the payments and the time your former husband took over making the payments. First, tell me, Miss Young, when the car was purchased?
It was March of 2003.
What kind of car was it?
A 1999 Subaru Forester.
And it was in your name, sir?
Yes.
What's your first name?
My first name is Shannon.
And Shannon, you are married?
Yes.
And you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
I have 2 children.
Your mother co-signed for the car?
Yes.
And you made payments from March of 2003 up until when, sir?
The first payment she made was $116.05.
Why?
I didn't have the money to pay it.
Did you call her and let her know that you weren't making the payments?
She was informed, yes.
No, that's not my question.
I did let her know that if she was able to make the payment, I was sorry that she did have to make the payment, but she would be reimbursed for whatever payments that she would be making.
So did you reimburse her?
No, she took the car before I could do that.
You say in your answer that you and your mother had an argument.
Yes.
During a summer. Was it the summer of 2005 or 2006? It's not so hard, sir. We're in 2006 right now.
Yeah.
Was it last month or the month before?
It's just that we're always arguing about stuff.
No, this was the argument where you and your wife decided, according to you, that she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore.
2005.
So after you had this argument with her and you decided she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore, she still made car payments for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Even though you weren't letting her see her grandchildren.
She was not coming by to see the grandchildren. She was there for Halloween. Thanksgiving came and went. She didn't call.
Just a second. I don't ask whether she called. I'm reading your answer,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Your answer said, as a result of an argument that took place last summer, it ended with my wife and I deciding that she was not to see our children, her grandchildren.
That is correct.
And all I'm saying to you is after you told her, don't tell me what she didn't do, you told her that she couldn't see her grandchildren, she still made car payments for you.
That is correct.
Why do you think she did that?
She's a co-signer on the car.
She didn't take the car away in January. She could have.
Yeah, she could have.
When did she take the car away?
I want to say April.
She didn't take the car away in February, sir. You didn't make a car payment.
No, I did not.
She didn't take the car away in March.
No.
So this lady who co-signed the car, because you didn't have reasonable enough credit, you were old enough to make babies, but you weren't old enough to have enough credit to buy a car on your own. So she had a co-sign for you. She had to make payments for you when you couldn't make the payments. Then you had an argument with her. You told her she couldn't see her grandchildren. She continued to make payments on the car for you and didn't take it away. I just want to get the timeline straight. Shannon.
Yes.
Must have been a really important argument that you and your wife decided she wasn't going to see her grandchildren anymore.
Yes.
You want to tell me about it?
Why we wouldn't let her see the grandchildren anymore?
Yeah.
She's doing her best effort to involve herself with the grandchildren. She doesn't like my wife, and so she loves the grandchildren because they're her grandchildren. Now, for example, when my first son was born, I called her up from the hospital. And
How long ago was this, sir?
This was 5 years ago.
I'm not interested in 5 years ago. Tell me what happened in the summer of 2005.
Well, she called me up asking when I would be able to make a payment for her. She asked me if I would be able to have the payment for her on Friday. I said, no, I will not be able to have it for you on Friday. I said, I'll have it for you on Wednesday. She said, well, can you have it on Tuesday? No, I cannot have it on Tuesday. I can have it for you on Wednesday because that's when I'm getting paid. And then she started asking me if I loved her or not. And I said, yes, I do love her. And then she started crying to me. And I said, you know what? You don't need to start crying. And then she says, I am making your car payments for you because you're my son and my grandkids need something to drive around on. But it's not the car payment that is upsetting me, Shannon. She says, I know I'll get the money back from you. What's really bothering me is that I have been making your brother's payments on his carpet cleaning machine, and I have made a couple payments on your brother's Mustang. And I said, that's great that you did do that, and I'm sorry that you had to make my car payment, and so it's compounding everything for you. And she did have to make the payments for her 3 sons. But I did let her know that I would pay her back for all the payments that she paid me.
So far, I'm not hearing why she can't see her grandchildren.
Because she asked me if she could come pick the grandkids up on Monday. I said, that's fine with me, but it's really not up to me. It's a decision that me and the children's mother need to make, my wife, Elizabeth. Elizabeth didn't think it was such a good idea at that time for her to see the grandchildren.
Why?
It's my wife's decision. She didn't think it was a good idea.
Just a second.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Don't say anything. Why wouldn't you put your wife in her place, sir, is my question to you. How long are you married?
I've been married for about 5 years.
You know what the divorce rate is in this country?
I don't keep track of this.
52%. That means there's a better than 50-50 chance that 5 years from now you'll be married to somebody else. You know how many mothers you have? Oh, one. You know how many mothers you're going to have in 5 years? One. You know how many mothers you're going to have in 20 years? One. Madam, he's very challenged, and there is absolutely nothing that I can say to you. I mean, stupid, he's beyond stupid. Beyond stupid. Because his wife had a problem with picking up the grandchildren. Here from a man who's just told me that his mother loved his children, went out of her way to be supportive of her 3 sons who can't get themselves arrested because they can't pay for their own vehicles, and he decides to say to his wife, you don't want her to see the children? I'm not going to argue with you. She won't see them. Something wrong with you.
There's
something clearly wrong with you. How many car payments did you... Don't speak to me, idiot. How many car payments did you make for him?
I think there was a total of about 13 payments.
And what was each payment?
They ran anywhere from $250 to $195.
Would you please tell me the total amount of car payments you made?
$1,962.
Mr. Young, that's what you owe your mother. You also owe yourself, sir, a little bit of growing up. One of these days you're going to have heartache. I guarantee you, your heartache will be if something happens to your mother, and because of your lunacy, you cut her out of your children's lives. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused and they step out.
He thinks that I'm trying to disrespect my mother. I love my mother very much.
I love him dearly. It's not about him as a person, but it's about the decisions that he's made.
I'm sure we'll be fine. You know, she's my mom. She'll always be my mom.
Jada Maxwell is suing her sister, Valastasia Maxwell, for unauthorized bank account charges and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2191, Maxwell versus Maxwell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Maxwell, this is your sister.
Correct.
Older, younger?
Younger.
The two of you decided to take an apartment together.
Correct.
When was that?
August 27th of 2021.
Were you both on the lease?
No, ma'am, just me.
How long did you live together?
It was about 6 to 7 months.
When did your sister leave? What month?
She left at the end of June of 2022.
June of?
2022.
Miss Maxwell, was it your arrangement that you would split the rent?
No. I would pay a portion of the rent, not split it even.
Well, tell me what a portion was.
The first month I stayed there, which was September only, I didn't pay anything. In October through November, $200, and then after that it was $400.
Well, how much was the rent?
$950, I believe.
And how many of you lived in the apartment?
Just us two.
Well, why weren't you paying half the rent?
I slept on a couch.
Oh, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor, except for the agreement. The agreement was that she would keep the apartment clean and pay half the rent and utilities.
Well, why would she pay half the rent if you get the bedroom?
It was her agreement. That was just...
No, I'm just saying, that doesn't sound reasonable to me. If she got the couch and you got the bedroom, why would she pay the utilities and half the rent?
Well, it wasn't... The rent itself was like, she gave me what she could, but that was just our agreement. I bought the couch big enough so that she would be able to use it.
Nonsense. Okay, this is what the case is about. You claim that she stopped paying any money towards the apartment and you threw her out. And when she left, she damaged some property, and then she charged some money on either your credit card or a debit card.
My debit card.
Did you ever give her your debit card?
There was only one time when I handed her with permission to use the credit card at a gas station.
That's not true.
You had a physical debit card?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And the one time that you let her use it, I want you to tell me when that was and what that was for.
It was within the time period of her living in the apartment. We were at a gas station and I was filling up. She went inside the gas station to purchase something because she didn't have money at the time, and that was it. That was the only time that I recall her ever giving her permission to use my card.
Okay. She moved out of the apartment in June of 2022, and I understand it was not an amicable process, and the police were called.
Correct.
Who called the police?
I did.
Why?
My dad gave me advice, and he said that I should call the non-emergency escort so that they can watch her, make sure that she actually leaves when she was asked.
And what day in June was this?
I do not recall the date.
You don't have a police report or a number?
Not for that. They didn't give me a police report for that.
Did they give you a police report for something else?
I have the police report for the fraud.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because it is your claim that you used the information from your debit card and withdrew a lot of money from your debit card.
Correct.
So you reported this to the police on August 25th?
24th.
It says reported 8/25. How much money did she take out of the account?
At the time of that, it was only estimated about 10, but once the July statement came out, I was able to add up more, and it was nearly 14, 15 grand.
May I see it, please? How did you get her banking information?
I had to call them.
How did you get her banking information?
I don't have her bank information.
Well, you took money out of her account. You acknowledge you took money out of her account.
I only took money out when she gave me permission.
No. You acknowledge that you took money out of the account. I've read your answer. How did you get her account information?
She gave me her card on multiple occasions.
You mean after you moved out, she gave you her card?
No. Yes.
Do you understand? You're not going to end up well here. Do you understand that? Because if she called the police, to watch you, to escort you out of the house, there is no question that she did not thereafter give you permission to use her credit card or her debit card. That doesn't make sense.
She did.
Do you understand the chronology of what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if I were to believe you, the only time you used her credit card is when you were still there. And that was prior to June of 2022.
That's incorrect.
Jada Maxwell claims her sister, Valastasia Maxwell, wrongfully took money from her bank account and damaged her property.
There is no question that she did not thereafter give you permission to use her credit card or her debit card. That doesn't make sense.
She did.
Do you understand the chronology of what I'm saying to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
So if I were to believe you, the only time you used her credit card is when you were still there. And that was prior to June of 2022.
That's incorrect.
Just a second. So you're telling me that after she called the police
to escort you out of the apartment, she still gave you permission to use her card?
Yes, Your Honor. I still went over to her apartment until July 15th.
For what?
I had my stuff there.
Just to gather your things.
And she let me use her car multiple occasions to get some of the furniture that she let me have. And she told me that I can use her card.
When was the last time you visited with your sister? July what?
July 15th.
And when was the last time you used her card?
July 16th.
What did you use her card for, July 16th?
Rent.
Between what periods of time did you use her card? Give me the dates.
Since September of 2021 until July 16th.
September of 21. And what was it for in September?
She would send me to the store, or if I was already at the store in her car, she would tell me to use her card or something like that. She would pay me to.
How much did you spend on her card just for you? Just for you, not for joint, not send it to the store, use my card?
I have it here.
Tell me how much you spent on you.
I'm not sure of the exact amount.
Did the police contact you with regard to the fraud?
No.
They never did?
No.
The police report, do you name your sister as the person who stole your money?
Yes, Your Honor. The bank told me...
No, don't tell me what the bank told you. Bank doesn't tell you anything. Would you show me here, maybe I'm missing it, where you report the person who took the money out of your account?
That is the only document when I went down to the station that they gave me. When I went to actually make the file, she just asked me a couple questions, who I
No, don't tell me what somebody else asked you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you report to the police that it was your sister who fraudulently took your money?
I did, but the police eventually, they cut it off because I was going to pursue small claims. They told me that they are no longer needed.
Small claims? Why were you going to pursue small claims? How much money how much money does she have? Miss Maxwell, let's get it together. Let's get it all together. Okay? You were not going to pursue small claims because you knew that in small claims you would end up with zero. You knew that.
At the time, I didn't understand what everything meant, which is why I tried calling a bunch of people, and I spoke to
No, I just want to know why, at this point, because the bank gave you back some money.
Correct.
How much money did the bank give you back?
I have it here. It was about $4,900, nearly $5,000.
Okay, and they gave you back almost $5,000. I'd like to see the communication with the bank. With the bank as to, if you are alleging fraud,
right.
If you're alleging fraud and you say that you had all of this money taken out of your account.
Correct.
Okay, then there's no reason why the bank, if you were alleging fraud and they found that there was fraud, why wouldn't they return all the money?
Because they have a policy that within the 3 months, they can only go up to the first 3 months. And because I didn't realize sooner, they can only go up to that 3 months. So they were only able to give me back within the transactions within those 3 months.
Is this a savings account or a checking account?
It was beneficiary.
What is that?
When somebody passed and you get money.
Explain that to me. I don't understand what beneficiary account is.
My grandmother passed away in August 9th of 2021. And she was my legal guardian to the age of 18. So I was under her account as a beneficiary. So when she passed, I got the money.
So you were living with your grandmother?
Correct.
Okay. And what was the benefit package?
What do you mean?
How much did you get as a beneficiary?
It was about $50,000.
On what date?
I'm not sure when it was processed, but it was opened. Payment started of October of 2021. Or transactions
I don't
started.
understand what a beneficiary account is. Who paid the money? Who paid this $50,000?
My grandmother. She would put money in there so that if something were to happen to her, the money would go to me or whoever she listed.
Your Honor, it's a type of savings account. In simple words, a beneficiary bank account is a type of savings account in which the funds are transferred to somebody else after the account owner passes away, directly to the beneficiary.
Okay, this had nothing to do with you receiving benefits through your grandmother.
No.
This is an account that your grandmother set up for you.
Correct.
Now, is that grandmother also her grandmother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you have a relationship with your grandmother?
Yes, I did.
Did she only set up the one account?
I'm not sure, but I wasn't the only one that received money.
What about you?
Nothing.
Okay, so how much is left in that account now?
The account is closed out.
By whom?
At the bank. After a certain, once it goes under a certain amount, they send you a check with the rest of the money.
How much did they send you a check for?
It was about $200.
Well, who spent the $50,000?
I made transactions throughout the time period as well.
Okay. What did you buy with $50,000?
I just basically used it.
What does that mean?
I wasn't responsible with it. I'll be honest about that.
Did you know that your sister had this $50,000 amount of money?
I didn't know she had that much, no.
Did you know she had any?
Yeah.
Did you know where it came from?
Yes.
Jada Maxwell has accused her sister, Velastasia Maxwell, of taking money from her bank account and damaging her property.
Now, what did you buy with $50,000?
I just basically used it.
What does that mean?
I wasn't responsible with it. I'll be honest about that.
Did you know that your sister had this $50,000 amount of money?
I didn't know she had that much, no.
Did you know she had any?
Yeah.
Did you know where it came from?
Yes.
Are you working?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a cashier.
And what about you?
I currently work at Chipotle and I also Uber on the side.
When was the last time you saw your sister?
July 16th. Or, I'm sorry, July 20th.
Are there any charges here after July 16th of 2021?
Yes, Your Honor. I actually gave that up already. In the top, it says July. It's written on there.
Just a second. I'm going to give this back to you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Find any charges that were made after July 16th. It was after July 16th was the last time you saw your sister?
No contact. We didn't have contact.
So the last time that you saw her was in July?
Correct.
You have here July total $3,148.14. What does that number represent?
That is that's all transactions that were confirmed to be her added up total in just the month of July.
Were there any?
Yes. It goes in. If it goes.
Were there any charges?
There were quite a few
in August, or was July the last amount of money that she took out?
In August, the card got cut off, so there were no.
Okay, so that the most that she incurred on the card in July was $3,000.
Correct, Your Honor.
And she left on July.
She was kicked out at the end of June.
The end of June?
Correct.
Yes, June of 2022.
Correct.
And that was with a police escort?
Correct.
No.
Okay. Police watching you?
They left, and I was still in the apartment.
But they were there. They were called.
Right.
Okay. Now, what property do you allege that your sister damaged? Because that's the second part of your lawsuit.
It was a couch, and
What?
it was $1,100.
Well,
I have pictures of the aftermath of when she was kicked out and what the state of the apartment was left in, including the couch.
Just show me the couch. If she damaged your couch, let me see it. I can't see what the damage is to this couch.
It shows better in other pictures.
No, I don't see damage. I just see a lot of dirt.
Under the cushions, there was mold, and then there's a picture that shows 2 cigarette burns that her friend left.
Could you return this to the plaintiff, please? A lot of dirt. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
You can't use her credit card after you're not speaking to your sister. I don't believe
I didn't, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. $3,148.
I did not spend $3,000.
Kevin, these are July's statements. Here. I think one of those things is yours. The bottom document. Okay, anything else? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,148. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
There was a lot more to show, but I'm glad I got something back. She took a lot from me.
I don't see how you can decide I made a transaction with my name written in pen.
And caused a lot of downfall after the fact.
She's just mad, I guess. I'm not sure.
I almost ended up homeless. I almost lost my job because of this.
I didn't cause any damage.
It was very hard. I didn't even want to press charges because she's my sister.
Nothing. They pulled up. They said that I had to leave. And I said, no, I already paid my portion. And they said, okay. And they left.
No, she was kicked out prior to that.
My friend did do that. I can say that. But, like,
she's just lying.
I didn't damage anything.
At this point, I don't believe her. I don't trust her. She took advantage of me.
Hopefully we can just dead it, but I don't know.
So I'm just glad that I was able to get something back so I can continue to get back up on my feet.
One day at a time.
I'm hoping for an apology, some remorse.
Who knows?
After I confronted her and she admitted to it, she ignored and cut everybody out. She didn't even say she was sorry. She didn't speak to me.
I don't know.
You know, it's a little bit easier now to commit fraud using someone's credit card, even if you only had access to the physical card for 5 seconds. It's long enough to take a picture of the back and input all the information into the DoorDashes, the Ubers, all the accounts. And if you don't check carefully, you may not notice for a couple months. So, I mean, I've been a victim of fraud in that way, and I know it can be very stressful trying to deal with the credit card company, and especially when it's your sister. I mean, my sister better think twice before using my credit card.
Do you know, generationally, I have a problem. It's actually my problem because I'm used to writing out a check. I have a checkbook. I write out the check. I deduct the check from my balance. I know what is...
How they taught you in 4th grade.
Absolutely. You want to make a deposit in a savings account. We were taught you brought $2, you put it in a bank account. In the bank book every Friday, your teacher stamped it, $2. That's how you save money. And the fact that you can walk into a store and take your phone and go like that and charge.
And who knows whose information is on there.
Frightening to me. It all sounds as if it's going to collapse around me. But everybody, I think everybody who's under 50 uses that, probably more than 50, because my children are actually 50. It's hard to come to terms with that. But they all use their...
Online banking.
Banking?
Yeah.
I still don't have my banking online.
I know.
I still do. Yeah. I still call them.
Yeah.
They say, it's her again on the phone.
You know you could do this online now, right?
Yeah, no. Anyway.
Well, keep doing it your way, and hopefully we don't get ruined by our way.
Yeah, fingers crossed. She seemed like a decent young woman, the plaintiff. You know, it's sad. Her grandmother saved probably all of her life so that her granddaughter had a little nest egg of $50,000, and she blew through it. Blew through it.
Unfortunate, but I appreciate the honesty.
And it was honest. Put money in trust. That's my advice.
Previously on Judy Justice.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's what the case is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you. Now I'm going to look at your video.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. She even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my fault? I told her not to go in my house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam.
And now, the conclusion. Mila Bazin is suing her former employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering after being bit by Sarah's pit bull.
Okay, my issue actually is, in addition to everything else, why would a seemingly smart woman have a dog that she would have to warn people about to come to her front door? Why? I say to myself, why? I don't understand that. And when I was preparing for this case today, looking at the complaint and looking at the answer, I could do a little multitasking. I was reading the newspaper. This is today. A 7-year-old Louisiana girl was mauled to death by a neighbor's pit bull after it ran into her family yard. The name of the person is here. A child was playing outside. her East Baton Rouge Parish home Friday when the dog barreled onto the property and viciously attacked her. Family member tried to stop the dog by hitting it with a walking cane, but the animal couldn't be deterred. First grader suffered multiple bites to her face and severe skull damage. She died. The dog was euthanized. The dog's owner told the officers he wasn't home during the attack and regularly lets the dog roam the neighborhood. He was charged Saturday with homicide.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. I would go right from charge to execution.
Your Honor, I also have proof that another lady down the street was bitten by...
I'm going to get to you. I'm not finished. Okay. I'm not finished. I don't understand. I have others because it looks like you look like dog-sitting mom killed by pit bulls. North Carolina woman was mauled to death by 2 pit bulls she was dog-sitting for after the mother warned her to stop watching the animals, according to reports. That's all. Husband came home, found her in the backyard being eaten by 2 pit bulls that she was watching for her son. I don't understand. I have more, but I won't bore you with more. So I don't understand why intelligent people have a dog that they know is capable of killing somebody, of just turning and killing somebody. I don't understand it. I think, insurance companies can legally discriminate against people who have pit bulls by saying, we're not going to insure you. And there's a reason for that.
But, Your Honor, I told her before she left not to go in my house. My dog was not outside. My dog was in my home, protecting my family.
I want you to look at the video again. And unless your daughter is a moron and can't follow your instructions, she did not say to her, wait outside.
I understand that.
Just a second. She saw her. She was in charge of your home that day. She permitted her to come in and put the drink down. She did that. You want to watch the video again, or do you acknowledge it?
I don't need to watch the video.
So you acknowledge it. So I don't care what you said to her. When she got there, the circumstances were such that your daughter, who is taller than you are, was very happy to have her come in instead of saying, you're not allowed to come into my house because we have this vicious dog.
She's not vicious.
Oh, yes, a dog that bites somebody that's coming in.
She was protecting my children in my home.
Just a second. I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying to you that she came in with your daughter within inches from her. And your daughter, when she opened the door, didn't you see the dog?
No, I didn't realize.
What? You didn't realize?
No, it happened so fast. When I entered the door, I then realized, so I came back to rush to stop Mila, but she already got bit. It was too late. So it is my fault.
Right!
It's not your fault.
I love that. It's too bad that you can't teach that to your mother. It's really too bad you can't teach your mother to say, it's my fault. I have a dog that can be vicious. And so far, the dog has not been vicious to my children. I hope for your sake and your brother's sake that one day the dog doesn't get annoyed with one of your brothers. I just hope. I mean, this lady was about your size, the one that was killed by the 2 pit bulls. An older lady. So I'm hoping your mother chooses to have that instead of double locks taking care of her children. Great. But then she has to pay the consequences. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm probably the oldest person that you know. I have never read one article where a Shih Tzu killed a person. That's why I have Shih Tzus. You have Chihuahuas? Yes. I've never heard about a Chihuahua killing a person. Ever.
Mila Bazin claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries after being bit by Sarah's dog. Sarah says Maya accepted a $300 settlement from the incident.
Now, may I see the note that you had from a previous neighbor?
Yeah, so this is a text message from Sarah to me stating that the neighbor down the street...
No, I can read.
Okay.
Nobody can state to you. Okay. What was the name of the other woman that got bit by your dog?
Your Honor, it was my neighbor and...
Just a second. I asked you for a name. Did she get bitten anywhere around this time?
No.
What year?
It was 2020, and it was a dog fight that me and her were both trying to break up.
Just a second. It was 2020.
2021, excuse me.
Okay.
She is my neighbor.
Just a second. So a year before, when in 2021? Give me a month.
I don't remember.
Summer, fall, winter,
fall.
spring?
It was fall.
So you're talking about September or October?
Somewhere around there, yes.
Was she treated for the dog bite?
No, Your Honor, it was not severe.
The answer is no. She was not treated for her dog bite. Not seen by anybody.
Correct.
Okay, can I see photographs of the dog bite, please?
And I also have the first initial appearance that I went to the hospital.
Now you can step back up. I have another question for you. Now you were there. I heard you say from inside, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, at least twice. Now, after this happened, what did the plaintiff do?
Call me.
No. After this happened, just you and your two younger brothers were home. What did the plaintiff do? She was sitting outside on the porch.
We came and gave her some towels.
Who's we?
My brother.
So you got some towels. I saw she asked you for some towels.
Mm-hmm. And then we tried to give her some Band-Aids.
Put the paper down. You're annoying me.
She said, just let me come in. So I put away the dog.
She said what?
Just let me come in. So I put away the dog, and I put her, she was in my mom's bathroom, and we were finding Band-Aids and rinsing it off.
And then I didn't ask you a question. Now she's in your mother's bathroom. She's trying to clean it up, and you put the dogs where?
We have kennels for them, cages.
And kennels?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have kennels for them that you put them in at what time of day? Or when anybody is coming over? When do you use the kennels?
We use them when we leave, or about to leave, or if somebody's coming over that they haven't met.
Okay. Now, you knew that the plaintiff was coming over. Your mother had told you the plaintiff was coming over.
Yes.
Okay. And did your mother tell you in that phone conversation, would ordinarily ask, because I know I live with people your age and a little bit older, when is McDonald's going to be here? When is it going to be here? Did you ask your mother that question?
No.
Did she give you any indication about how long it would take?
No.
How did you know when plaintiff arrived?
The car pulled up.
So you were looking outside for the car?
Yes.
Great. And when were you looking outside for the car? You knew the food had arrived.
Yeah.
You went outside.
Yes, I closed the door right behind me.
Of course. You closed the door behind you. You went and got the food. There was extra food. She was clearly following you, and you clearly saw that she was following you into the house.
No.
Well, by the time you got to the front door, you want to see it again? You turned around, you saw that she was there, behind you.
That's when I went in the house. That's
No, right before. Right before. Play it again, Sam. She's now out of the car. You're calling your brothers. Turn around, you look at her and smile, say nothing. She walks in, so you say nothing to her. Got it? Don't come in here. Don't come in, just leave it outside. You're both smiling. Smiling. You want to see it again? No, you were both smiling when you walked in. Play it again, Sam.
Got it?
Okay, thank you. Got it? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's when
very
I
good.
realized.
Ms. Bazine, quite frankly, the only thing that's distressing to me about your complaint is that you're only suing her for $3,500. That's the only thing that is, as far as I'm concerned, you could have just as easily been really seriously injured. And to me, people who will keep an aggressive dog, that's an aggressive dog, at home for whatever reason, especially a breed that has been determined to be a potentially dangerous breed of animal, deserves any consequences. This guy, this 20-year-old idiot, is going to jail. If I was sentencing him, he would go to jail for a very long time as an example. Maybe you have to set examples for people who allow innocent people to get killed because they like a particular breed of dog. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm old. I'm very old. I'm probably the oldest person that you know. I have never read one article where a Shih Tzu killed a person. That's why I have Shih Tzus. I've heard them, they nipped my finger maybe, they ripped my stockings, they ate the furniture leg, but I've never read a piece. You have Chihuahuas, you have Chihuahua. Yeah. I've never heard about a Chihuahua killing a person, ever. Ever. So if you're dumb enough to have a dog, you have to accept the consequences. This guy is going to accept the consequences for his stupidity, for letting his pit bull roam around, by going to jail. And you don't accept the consequences by paying the exact amount that she's requesting, which is $3,500. Your counterclaim is stupid, and it's dismissed.
Your Honor,
and I'm done with you.
Your Honor, we had an agreement that she signed.
Done with you.
We had an agreement that she signed.
I was very high on narcotics and coming under the influence of coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this. And if it was for her to make me feel better because of what happened.
I'm sorry, Miss Bazin, that's not going to fly with me.
Defendant Sarah Adams is accusing her former employee, Mila Bazin, of harassment after her dog bit Mila. Mila claims she did not agree to Sarah's $300 settlement.
We had an agreement that she signed. She signed the agreement for $300 and we were done.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
Please.
If she,
on top of that, the next day she came back into my house to meet the dog that bit her.
I don't care.
What do I care?
What do I care about that? Why would you bring the
bit? She picked at it. I have all this evidence that she picked at it, and that's what it turned into because she didn't take care of it.
I have to tell you, I don't care whether she took care of it or whether it got infected. If I got bitten by somebody's vicious dog, I don't care whether it got infected or not. That's a traumatic event.
The only reason why I was suing.
But just a second. But if you signed a release to her,
She did.
That's a different story.
No, I didn't.
She signed that paper.
Don't. Why did you sign this? This is clear. First, Kevin.
Can I see it, please? And when is it dated on?
Well, it says this agreement settles a dog bite that happened on 7/18.
This was signed in October and November.
If you shout out again.
Because I was missing all my money. I was not getting paid. I needed something from her.
What do you mean? I don't understand what you mean you weren't getting. Here.
Is there a date on this?
And I do have other things that she signed if you need to verify the signature.
I was very high on narcotics and coming under the influence of coming out of the hospital. I do not remember signing this. And if it was for her to make me feel better because of what happened.
I'm sorry, Miss Bazin, that's not going to fly with me.
Well,
that's not going to fly with me. If you accepted the $300,
no, I didn't.
Pay careful attention to what I'm saying before you answer. If you and the defendant in any action can at any time, even without a lawyer, if neither of you have a lawyer, I'm speaking, can settle a claim if they wish to settle a claim before getting the courts involved. That can happen. And that should happen in many instances. I'm not quite sure this one, but it certainly should happen more often than not. You settle for less than you were entitled to. You settled for $300. Did she give you $300?
No, Your Honor.
May I see that document, please?
She did not.
Okay, let's see whether
Also
she did.
referring to a car battery?
No. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I agreed to give Mila $300. Did she give it to you?
No.
Show me that you gave it to her. And when?
I gave her cash. It's on camera at work. I handed her at work with my boss there. My boss, you can call him right now.
I'm not calling your
boss.
Listen to me. I'm not calling your boss. That's your problem to prove it.
I also helped her when her car broke down.
I don't care.
I paid for a battery.
I don't care.
I paid for
Listen
lift
to me.
rides for her.
I don't
Your dog
care.
bit me.
Shh. I don't care. All I want to see is proof that you handed her.
I gave her cash.
$300.
I don't have proof because I gave her cash.
Well, that's a problem for you. Did she give you cash?
Your Honor, no.
No,
She
just
helped me out with a car battery, and then she accumulated.
Just a second. It doesn't say that you gave her $300.
Your Honor, she's lying.
It says I agreed to give her.
She's lying. I handed her $300 and had her sign that at work. We did it at work. She's lying.
How she threatened
Well,
me.
then then I'm going to give this to you. She says you didn't give her the $300. You have no proof that you gave her the $300. You have no proof.
I don't.
You don't have any proof. $3,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like if it would have been a Shih Tzu that bit her and did that damage, I feel like the judge would have gone in my favor.
And I knew I would get justice coming here for pit bulls. She takes care of the community. I'm so glad that happened that way.
I had a lot of evidence, and the reason why her bite turned into what it looks like now is because she didn't take care of it. She picked at it.
I was happy to bring the kids food. I'm that type of person.
Because I have documentation of her picking at it. She went to the hospital 4 different occasions.
It's pretty traumatizing.
I know she was fine because I have text messages that prove that she was fine.
And all of a sudden, the dog just got me.
That it was her fault. She knew better than to go in the house.
Right when I walked in, the dog lynched and grabbed my leg.
I walked in, and then I realized there was a voice behind me. I went back and saw that Milo was back, and she got bit by that time, so I went to go help her.
Locked its jaw. The burnt tooth went really far down deep. Me and the baby girl both had to hit the dog to get him off of me.
I picked up the dog, and I put her in her kennel.
Very terrifying. I still have PTSD, and even watching that video was shocking.
She was constantly complaining about the dog bite to myself, my boss, slandering me every chance that she got.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And I said, Milo, look, this needs to be settled once and for all.
Bullied me and put me in a position, cornered me, and made me do what she wanted to do. She was my boss, so whatever she said, I had to do.
What do you want? She said, give me $300 and I'll sign something saying we're done. So that's what I did.
I don't know. Some people are different.
So I just wanted to point out a distinction in the articles that you brought in. I know you've been hearing these pit bull cases for decades, and so I understand your outrage every time you see one. But the distinction in the news articles that you brought in today as examples, as well as this case, there's a couple key differences. One, the main one being, in the newspaper articles, the dogs were outside the home, outside the control. And in this case, the defendant wanted to make it especially known that the dog never left her home. However, from a legal standpoint, it's a more egregious charge if you allow your dangerous animal out and about in society without any sort of warning. However, just because it's inside your home doesn't absolve you from that responsibility. The plaintiff was still an invitee into the home. Like you had said, the daughter had every opportunity from the street all the way up the sidewalk, all the way onto the porch, and even into the screen door that you can see on the video opened up. Never once said, oh, just wait outside. Even with my own dogs. Or leave the food on the porch. Even with my own dogs, golden retrievers, sometimes I never know if they're going to be overexcited. I say, just hang on 1 second out here. Let me make sure they're good. And I make sure they're happy, whatever. And then I say, come on in. So she had every opportunity to do that, and she didn't. So like you had mentioned to her, it's not like the plaintiff was a trespasser or trying to steal or trying to harm her children. And you're still responsible for your dangerous animals, even if they're inside your home.
Yeah.
So just think that's a word to the wise, that it's not just when they're outside your control that you can be held liable.
I thought it was also interesting, now that I think about it and listen to what you're saying, usually when you have a dog that you know is dangerous, because let us assume that I believed her when she said, I said don't go into the house, which I don't believe her. You usually have a sign if you live in a private house and you're using the dog for protection, to have a sign, dangerous dog.
Beware of dog.
Beware of dog, because somebody may come and deliver a package, open your screen door. You never know when something can happen. So you at least give the public notice that there is potentially a vicious animal inside. You're absolutely right.
Brianna Sloneker is suing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, for the cost of a golden retriever puppy.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2188, Sloneker versus Hoovener.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Sloneker, is this your boyfriend?
Hi, yes. This is my boyfriend and the father of our 2-year-old child.
Okay, you could stand up with her. In addition to a 2-year-old child, you also had 2 dogs. Where were you living at the time of this incident?
So we were living in our house.
In your house where?
In Radford, Michigan.
Do you own the house or rent it?
We rent it.
Are you still living there?
Yes, we are.
Do you work?
No,
You're not, the answer is no.
I'm a writer. I'm also 2 months pregnant too, so.
The question is, do you work and make a living?
Yes.
At what?
Writing.
Okay. Who do you write for?
Myself, self-publishing.
Well, how much money did you make last year self-publishing?
0.
0.
Yeah.
So the answer is, you don't work and you don't make any money. And what about you, boyfriend?
Currently, at the moment, I'm a custodian for the Hills School District.
Okay, and how much do you earn?
I earn $16.50 an hour.
And what's your rent?
It's $14.45.
Who pays it? There's no question you don't.
He does.
I do.
Impossible. Not $16 an hour.
Our brother currently lives with
What?
my brother lives with us as well, so we have a roommate. That's how we pay for it.
And he pays some of the rent?
Yes.
Is your rent current?
Yes.
And you have a car?
I do.
So you have car and insurance. You have a car. Well,
I
somehow
do.
you're very economical. Now, you had 2 dogs. You had financial hardship, according to your complaint, and you could no longer take care of the dogs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What kind of dogs were they?
Our 1-year-old dog named Courage, he is a Border Collie, an Australian Shepherd mix.
He's a Border Collie?
Yes.
Where did you get him from?
We got him from a breeder back in 2021. It was probably December 2nd of 2021.
And what was the other dog?
The other dog, her name was Danny. She was a purebred golden retriever puppy that we had purchased October 7th, 2022. Yeah.
Okay. Now, how much did you pay for the Border Collie?
We paid $500 for the Border Collie.
I'm still figuring out how you're all budgeting. And how much did you pay for the Golden Retriever?
We also paid $500 for the Golden Retriever.
Where did you get the money from?
A tax return.
So let me understand this. You have a 2-year-old baby?
Yes.
You have a 2-year-old baby. You got tax returns from the only income from the house, which is his, where he earned $16 an hour. And what you did was you spent $1,000 of your tax return on 2 dogs. I just am clarifying that in my own mind. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be a right. Okie dokie. When you could no longer either physically and or financially take care of the dogs, you put an ad on the internet. What part of the internet?
We put the ad on Craigslist and Hoobly.
Craigslist and?
Hoobly.
It's like another Craigslist type online.
You have a copy of the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them. Okay, so you put ads for both dogs. One, you said small rehoming fee, not a breeder, needs a new home, call for details. The other is the 1-year-old Border Collie, Aussie mix, and you had rehoming fee of $200.
Yes.
Okay, this says absolutely nothing about fostering short term, you get the dogs back, nothing. And no other criteria in here.
Yes.
Nothing. So this is your complaint. The defendant answered your ads. You brought the 2 dogs over to her. She gave you $100.
Yes.
Yes. You left the 2 dogs with her. You were on your way back to wherever you lived, in the car, and according to you, you had a change of heart.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
And you called her and you said to her, we're coming back.
Yes.
How long did that process take you?
It was within the 2 hours we had left.
So within 2 hours, you called her and said, I changed my mind.
Yes.
And what did she say to you?
She had said that she had given the dog away.
One of them?
One of them, yeah.
Okay. She said, I gave the dog away. Did she tell you to whom? Did she tell you what circumstances? Did she tell you?
She said that she had given the dog to a lady named Cindy, and she mentioned that she gave this Danny to...
You have text messages? Is what you're reading from text messages?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a text in the evening, and she says to you, my friend is traveling back to Tennessee now with my friend Cindy. Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No.
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Brianna Sleniker claims her buyer, Charity Hoovener, wrongfully gave away a golden retriever after promising to keep the puppy.
Now, you went back to the house and you picked up one of the dogs.
Yes.
Courage. And did you give her back the $100?
No.
That's either yes or no.
No.
Why not?
Because she kept the other dog, Danny, which was a purebred golden retriever. The condition was to have both dogs together.
Okay, show me where that is. Show me something in writing where that was a condition. It certainly wasn't in your ad. It certainly wasn't in your ad, which just said you needed to find new homes for both your dogs.
It was.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant about getting a better offer for the golden retriever?
No.
Yes.
Did you ever say anything to the defendant, either on the phone or in a text, that you believed that you could get more for the golden retriever because you had paid $500 for it as a puppy? This was just a couple of months later. It was still a puppy. I'm asking you, did you say anything to her about being able to get more money for her?
No, I did not. We want our dog back because of our other dog, Courage. And
what makes you think you can have the dog back?
Well,
you made a deal. She paid you $100. You took the $100. You didn't return the $100 to her. One of the dogs was already rehomed to yet another person. She gave you the dog back. She gave you one back, despite the fact that you didn't give her any money. Why do you think that this is a deal that you can say, I changed my mind? What makes you?
Because it was in a verbal condition to keep the dogs together.
Absolutely not.
Shh.
Sorry.
It was a verbal condition to keep the dogs together. They were a bonded pair, and she said that if we wanted to, we could.
In what month did you sell the dogs to the defendant?
It was December 4th, 2022.
12/4. Now, you got, according to you, the golden retriever in October of 2022. So you had, at most, the dogs together for 2 months.
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's not a bonding experience. How old was the golden retriever?
She was 2 months old when we got her.
So she was 4 months old?
Yes.
Well, you certainly could have gotten more than $100 for her. She must have been really desperate for that $100.
I really just want my dogs together.
Well, they're not together. Then you should have thought of that before you put ads here. You changed your mind. That's it. You changed for whatever reason. You felt sad in the car going home. Or she's going to tell me that you had a conversation with her that involved money.
No.
I'm ready. All I want to know from you at this point is, and it's really not dispositive of this case, but it was in your answer. Did you ever have a conversation after she dropped the dogs off about money?
Yes.
Tell me about the conversation. When was it? Was it in the car? Or was it
by my door, by my side door.
When? At what point in this? When they came back? Or
when they came back, she said, I got offered a lot more money for this dog. I think you're a scam artist. Yeah. And I want what's due. I want the rest of my money.
What the rest of your money?
No.
I don't know.
No, Your Honor, no.
Never said that.
Yes. No. She got offered more money, Your Honor.
She certainly could have gotten more for this golden retriever. She certainly could have gotten more money for the golden retriever than the $100 that you gave her for both dogs.
Yes, for both.
But she accepted the $100 and she never returned the $100. That's it. Finished. What?
Your Honor, I wanted to keep Courage, and my friend here, Cindy, took Danny.
Oh, so you have the other dog?
I do, yes.
I have the other dog. Well, step up. So you were going to Tennessee?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Tell me about the conversation that you had with Ms. Hovner.
Yes.
On the date that they dropped the dog off.
Okay. She had called me and let me know that
first of all,
I believe is her name, was going to drop the dogs off.
When did you have this discussion?
That was on the 4th, on December 4th, 2022. She called me, I would be guessing, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 5 in the afternoon, and told me that, I think her name's Brianna, was going to be dropping the dogs off.
For $100.
For $100, and she asked me, do you have, $100? And I said, well, sure.
So you gave her $100?
I gave her $100 to give, yes.
Brianna.
And I was waiting, and she was running just a little late. We was going to Tennessee. We had to get diapers and stuff. So I left $100 with Charity, and I said, just in case she comes while I'm gone, you have the money to give her, and I'll come back when, you know, we're done shopping to get the dog.
Okay. Now, when had you discussed with her the $100 for both dogs?
Over the phone, Your Honor.
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation went, we had discussed the 100 for both Courage and
Do you have
Danny.
that in texts?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Not all of them, just
not all of it.
Just the one that she's asking about.
Yeah. How is the dog?
She's doing really good. Yeah, I got her to the vet. She's growing. Oh, she 2 weeks ago was her last shots, and she's already 41 pounds. She's just growing like a weed. Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to read this to you. I am trying hard to come up with $100 more, dear. I have 100. And you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. Then she answers you, I will come up with the rest. You were just feeding these puppies bread?
Brianna Sloneker is accusing her buyer, Charity Hoovener, of giving away a golden retriever hours after purchasing the puppy.
Now, you respond to her, okay, we're just going to have to feed them bread until somebody buys them. You were just feeding these puppies bread? That's what you wrote here. Who wrote this, you or him?
I wrote it.
And I would assume that your life circumstance hasn't changed. You're still not working, and he's still working for $16 an hour.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And at that point, back in December, what you said was, I can only afford, in effect, I can only afford to feed them bread until somebody buys them. What's changed in your life? What's changed in your life financially that you think that you should be able to stretch your budget to feed so far a 40-pound dog and the other one? What's changed? Nothing. Ridiculous people.
I was jobless at the time.
Kenyon was jobless at the time, Your Honor.
What?
Yes.
He was jobless in December.
Yes.
You still took your tax returns and bought a dog for $500. Duh. She says to you, oh, they are both really fantastic dogs. And you respond, absolutely they are. It was a nice chapter to have them. Now their fate is with you or wherever their life journey takes them. Glad you have them now. That's what you wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. I'm probably going to fall madly in love. Anyway, then you changed your mind, and they reached out to Pause Organization and had a chat about last night. Your suspected buyer is being rude to us, and we want our dog back. What's a Pause Organization? What is that?
When we had met her at her house, I was a little uneasy about giving her the dog and taking into consideration the area we live in Metro Detroit. There's a lot of dog fighting there, so I had to be sure that she was trustworthy. So she had mentioned to me that she is a part of the Pause Organization, which is a animal-friendly organization.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You say, now you want the dog back, and you say, option A, you pay us our
Head toward this point.
Team match. Let's go.
Match point for the red team.
Reloading. Target down. Kill. Cover me.
Watch out! Watch out! Killing spree for the red team! I need a weapon. I need a weapon.
Reloading. Nice shot. Cover me.
Half of the match is over, and the red team is in the lead.
Nice shot. Reloading. Cover me. me! Reloading! No mercy! Cover me! Reloading! Target down! No mercy!
I need a weapon. Killing spree for the red team. The red team is in the lead. The blue team doesn't have a lot of time left.
Down! Cover me! No mercy! Target down! Reloading! Red team victory!
Your asking price for the dog. What was your asking price? This is after you already got the $100. Okay, so now after you got the $100, left the dogs with her, what was your asking price? What was your asking price?
The value of her.
What was the asking price? It's your words.
I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
Option A, you pay us our asking price for Danny. Or option B, we call our lawyers and take you to court.
Yes, I at the time wanted her to repay the remaining balance of Danny, how much we had bought her for, $500.
So you wanted more money for the dog?
Yes.
Okay, well, you can't have it. You've already made your bargain. Your case is dismissed. We're done here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think that there's a lot of evidence, a lot of things that was left out and unsaid.
I thought the judge's decision was fantastic.
I just feel like everything wasn't said properly. That's probably on our part. I don't think it was necessarily fair, but that's her decision.
Cindy and I wanted the best interest in these dogs.
It just didn't feel right, so immediately we went back to get the dogs and keep them and bring them home.
It was about money.
Just stick it out next time. You know, don't trust everybody.
I just feel as if these dogs were not taken care of.
I hope she does have a good home.
You know the sadness of that whole case? to me, Sarah, is the mindlessness of these two young people. I don't know where they got the $500 during that 2-year period, an extra $500 to pay for each dog. I can only speculate. When I speculate, I say to myself, based upon my common sense, neither one of them look like they're robbing a store.
No.
So I have to say to myself, you know who bought them those dogs? The president. Because the only time you get that kind of chunk of money was at your stimulus or extended something. But even if it's extended unemployment, because he was unemployed, you have $1,500 a month in rent, you have a car, you have insurance, you have a 2-year-old baby. What kind of thought process goes into buying 2 expensive dogs?
And
One
big
a dog,
dogs.
and big dog. Well, one of them was a big dog. One of them was a substantial sized dog. Then you have a 2-year-old baby, and you're going to feed the dogs bread. So what do? You have another baby. That makes sense. Makes perfect sense. And I guess I get so excited about it because based upon my history, it's always the children that end up suffering.
I knew you were going there. And it's true.
Yeah.
You're feeding a dog bread and think that that's an appropriate way to take care of an animal and trying to get it off your plate. The first thing I would be doing is making sure I didn't sign up for another child financially, responsibility-wise.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do? Cut the baby's formula with water so that you can stretch it? I mean, they both look like they could use a good meal. I don't understand. I just don't understand the thought process. And it's always the innocents that suffer because even the dogs are innocents. Clearly, the babies, but clearly the dogs are innocents. You know, they just want to be fed and have a home with, you're not a 4-month-old puppy eating bread until they can find somebody that can give them something more nourishing. It's absolutely outrageous and irresponsible and tragic. That's what I think. Life isn't getting any different from what it was 40 years ago. It just stays the same.
Well, at least the golden retriever is in a good home, goes to the vet, hopefully is getting fed real dog food. So there's a bright side or a silver lining in the end of that. So.
Right. If you could just find reasonable parents to take care of these 2 children that they created.